Welcome back to the Coliseum of Fantasy Knowledge. This is the IDP Fantasy Empire. I'm Paul, of course, here with Buck. In this podcast, we're bringing you the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes. And that is the inside linebacking position for rookies.
My favorite position and my favorite podcast. This is actually our premium podcast. This is one of the few, if not the only, that we will be handing out to you guys for free this season.
Yeah, because we really feel like linebackers are where you need, and this is going to show you how much we really do know.
Yeah, this is kind of our feeler, just so you guys can get an idea of what we're doing here. The things we're looking for linebackers that make that initial first step towards the quarterback. Once they do that, they realize if it's a pass or if it's a run. After that, they chop their feet in the hole. They make the tackle. We're also looking at the way they flow. Are they able to move side to side down the line, get to where they need to get to, whether that's flushing out the quarterback, tackling the running back, or dropping back into coverage. There's a lot of things going on with these linebackers, and we're here to help you understand what we're looking for and what we see in these prospects.
Yeah, and some of the things I look for is definitely a guy who can keep his head up and keep watching the play, watching the quarterback's eyes, because really the middle linebacker is the quarterback of the defense, and he's the guy who has to make all the calls. I mean, you look at some of the best Brian Urlacher. He was like basically the other quarterback out on the field, and that's the kind of guy you really want to be able to pin your dynasty on or kill it with a rookie in a redraft. Because, again, a lot of these rookies, especially in your redraft leagues, these top 4 or 5 guys are going to be low on the totem pole. Oh. So you're going to be able to snag them pretty low or pretty early in your draft if you really know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and Paul and I are going to have different presentation styles. I will try and talk about the highlights that I saw from each player. After that, I'll go ahead and diagnose one game. Some of these players, they got 2 games out of me to kind of see if their highlight package matched their game production.
Yeah, and then for me, I kind of mix it up the same way. Sometimes I'll go with games first and then highlights. And then I also like to get the side notes, all the stuff that may not be talked about or you may not know. And hopefully I can bring a little bit more to the field for you. And speaking of bringing in more, we'd also like to give a shout out to our new writers, and you'll see them on our website. Of course, after you subscribe, you're going to see everything.
And that is idpfantasyempire.com.
And then just $4.99. A year long from time of purchase, so get in there and get it on now. Our new writers are Brendan Armour, Connor Green, and John Witt. So we've liked these guys. They've been sending us in articles already, chomping at the bit. They're excited to get going. I mean, we are too. I mean, once the combine happens, I'm just ready for draft day, man.
Yeah.
After draft day, that's when it really starts for me.
All right, you want to jump right into the first guy?
Yeah, I think this is by far an easy, unanimous one.
We've got them ranked on the way we think they'll produce fantasy-wise, at least right now until they get picked by a team. Yeah,
because, again, I've harped on it for all our podcasts. I like to see where guys are going because that's really going to show me what they're going to be able to do and if they're going to be able to start and be productive. So our first overall, I think, again, easy guy for us is Roquan Smith, inside linebacker from Georgia. He's 6'1", 225. He ran a 4.52. Didn't participate in the bench. I don't understand why. I mean, it must have just been a wait till my pro day situation. Also didn't run drills just because he kind of got a little tight in his hammy, so he decided not to run drills. But again, I expect to see this all at the pro day. So I'll go into my notes first. This man is a playmaker for the Bulldogs, first and forward. He's going through tape, or me going through tape. I have to write his high points because, again, I've watched so many games of his now. I kind of turned into a little bit of a Bulldog fan throughout the season just from watching him so much, especially the Rose Bowl game. And we can say that one was a classic, instant classic. Against East State, back when he was a pup, he was making tackles for losses and even safeties. He watches the ball and reads the play better than many that I've seen. He can deliver hits in the hole as well. He has a relentless pursuit, closes plays down on the sideline. I started really seeing him in the game I caught live was against South Carolina. That was really the first game I saw of his. He had 7 solo tackles, 4 assists, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery in that game. He was all over the place, and he was punishing whoever touched the ball. Versus Auburn this year, 2017, he chases down the running back at the edge, breaks a block for a tackle, waits too long to attack on one play. He had a pass break up in the end zone, which I thought was impressive for a middle linebacker. You don't see that very often. He came up the middle for a tackle, comes down to the open field, and then makes the tackle in the backfield. One play I liked a ton is when the quarterback was rolling out to the right, and Smith kept with the quarterback, but he was also spotting the tight end. He was basically watching two things at once to either tackle or turn and basically destroy the tight end. He would have probably killed him. A chip block keeps him from getting to the quarterback. He missed a tackle on a touchdown, comes off the block to make a tackle, helping in run defense. I think Smith will fit any team. My glaring concern that I would have if I had to really pick holes in it is what I saw in the OU game. And that was the Rose Bowl. The Sooners planned for him, and they put 2 O-linemen on him on the second level. And that really helped get their run game going because that's what they were trying to enforce early in that game. He'll need to learn how to avoid that in the pros. But again, you're not going to see a whole bunch of double teams on rookies in the pros. That's just not really how the system works. But he can be done. I mean, he has so much talent, and there's going to be other talent around him in the NFL, so I feel like that's going to negate some of that issues that he had. Again, it's hard to put 2 big hams on you and be able to get out of it. That's on any level. He did adjust to the blocks in the second half of that OU game, though, and it helped lift their team to a win in an instant classic. He'll be one of the few rookies you could take in a redraft and feel good about and be just fine with it.
Yeah, I believe you're right on that. I think Roquan Smith does a really good job at staying home. He's showing tremendous football knowledge, and he's a game tape junkie. My pros for him is that he cuts around and through offensive linemen better than what I initially thought a guy his size would do. He can cover, he can blitz, and he can tackle extremely well. The game where I watched was him against Auburn. He had great body control to get back for the tackle whenever he was falling down. He kept adjusting to the offensive tackle to set up a tackle. What I mean by this is he would go around the outside and he would give a little shake, and then he would jump right back across. He diagnosed the end around and reacted well. A lot of players, they will go ahead and jump straight up, and whenever you do this, they just make an arc around you. He had the ability to find the right angle and make that tackle. He sticks his body in the hole, and he's not afraid to do so. He can get out-muscled by offensive linemen often if he gets too close to them on the line of scrimmage to start the play. Typically, I've noticed if he just hesitates a little bit and just watches the play develop, he can find himself behind offensive linemen or ahead of offensive linemen, and he does a lot of skirting around the offensive linemen. He was sent on a blitz, and he peels back whenever he sees the screenplay. His mistake is that he consistently is being ate up by the offensive linemen in the second half. It looks like they game planned for him because he was so successful in the first half. He found himself out of place a couple times, and again, the offensive linemen were kind of washing him out. My cons for him is that he can struggle in the red zone because of his lack of strength and his leverage. These smaller guys, they have a little bit of trouble using that weight that more traditional linebackers would have, and in that tight space you got to be able to push the guy off to the side and then get back there and make that tackle to prevent that touchdown. But size will be his first priority to fix in his second season of the NFL. I don't think he'll really have time this offseason. Do you, Paul?
Mm-mm.
We saw a guy similar in weight and play style, Deion Jones. It took him his second season before he really started adding weight.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the easy comp? What are your thoughts on Roquan Smith?
I don't think it's necessarily a comp. It's just more of some of these players, it takes them a while to realize how the NFL works. I mean, you can prepare all you want, and the coaches can tell you whatever they want, but it's until you put the cleats on the field, that's when you're going to know, hey, I need to work on this. I need to get stronger here. I need to get faster here. So that's why it takes a lot of rookies a year to be truly productive. But, I mean, you look at Jared Davis, a kid who came in as a rookie, and he produced decent fantasy numbers most of the season. He did get a little banged up near the end, but you can still go in and produce as a rookie. I mean, you're looking at where he may be drafted. Again, we don't talk about the draft very much with these guys, but, I mean, if he goes, let's say, the 49ers, I think that's a slam dunk. And he might be one of the first guys that I go double linebacker and get him and Reuben Foster. That would be a nice one to do. If he goes to the Raiders, I mean, you're looking at a team that desperately needs someone to tackle anybody. That would be a good fit too, especially going when he has Khalil Mack out there as well.
Fantasy-wise, where are you looking to draft him in, say, a 10-team, again, we're going to keep working with this, a 10-team, 10-round dynasty?
Dynasty?
Yep, dynasty rookie draft.
First or second round.
First or second round?
Okay. Absolutely.
All right.
He's a guy who I think can change your team's outlook.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm not going to be lucky enough to get him this year, but I wanted him as soon as I saw his tape. So somehow I wasn't able to talk 5 people into giving me all the draft picks in our league. But you have to be buddies with everyone to get it in our league. That's pretty much how it works. Buck's trying to hold back a laugh, but he knows I'm right. But again, and I think if he goes to the Raiders, I up his value a little more, and I may take him sooner.
So you'd rather see him go to the Raiders than the 49ers? I
mean, realistically, I'd like to see him go to the Packers, but that's not going to happen. So, I just think the Raiders are so tackle needy right now that he's going to fit right in and start.
Yeah.
I think he's going to start for any team, but I think the Raiders would be the ideal IDP and fantasy fit for him.
Yeah. And to sort of make this whole premium package evergreen, we will have continuations of these players and where we rank them after the draft. So,
yeah, because that'll be very important too.
Next guy up, we've got Rashaan Evans from Alabama. He's 6'3", 231, projected to run a 4.63 40, projected to go first to second round, and did not participate in the bench. For him, I've got that he's a vicious tackler. His play style reminds me a lot of Ryan Shazier. He can come around on the edge, though, whereas Ryan Shazier typically does not. It kind of reminds me of the way Ryan Shazier was used to blitz at Ohio State, and that's something I like out of this kid. The pros for him is he has tremendous anticipation and awareness, and he has speed to tackle. I watched him against Georgia, and it looks like he made a lot of leap tackles. Wasn't a big fan of this. I am of the opinion that I'd rather see the linebacker drive his feet through the offensive player, but that's just me. He had a lot of pass breakups, and he could take himself out of the passing lanes. It looked like he was set up to make a pick, and then he would make a decision that would bring him out. He has above average anticipation at guessing plays. This is a testament to his awareness. His play speed to get to the edge is pretty great. I like that. He can get to quarterbacks on blitzes, and he may not make a tackle in trash, but he can blow up the hole. He's a lot like a sledgehammer. This guy is one of those guys that can come in and just blow up the offensive tackle and create blitzing lanes for your other linebackers or safeties. And this is typical of Alabama linebackers. Most of these guys really play with reckless abandon. He's more of a C.J. Mosley, if I'm going to compare him to other linebackers from Alabama, than a Reuben Foster. I would say he's got a little bit more finesse to his game than Reuben Foster. He will blow up a blocker to get to the running back or open up holes for other linebackers. He's not afraid of contact, and he has a body to match. He will drop his helmet in the rib cage of a running back trying to get the second effort. I like seeing this. This is one of those old school type linebackers that understands that if you continually make these jabs on these guys, you can go ahead and take them out. They're going to get hurt with all these body blows. A little boxing reference. Mm-hmm. Some cons for him is I see this with a lot of guys like him. He can trust his eyes too much, and I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but he will really sell out whenever he thinks he sees something. So if you're able to deceptively set something up, it will cause him to overreact or over-pursue something. What are your notes on Rashaan Evans? For
me, Evans is a kid who had to wait his turn at Alabama and really became the player we see now. He finally got rotated in 2016. He notched 66 tackles, 11.5 for loss, 6 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 3 pass breakups. Evans is a big dude and can fit in very, very many man schemes. He's a solid tackler. He hits the A gap and blows up the running back in his highlights. He gets to the sack. He can stand up coming off the edge, kills the quarterback on a free run, comes around the edge on a delayed blitz, which Alabama was kind of famous for, doing these delayed blitzes and blitzing off the edges. Versus Florida State 2017. Wide receiver screen, gets them all moving the wrong way. He blows up the wide receiver screen on the next go-around, and he gets the stop and the solo tackle as well. He gets blocked down in the end zone. I like to see these guys be able to fight through blocks a little more. He ended up leaving the game with a groin injury that game, so that one was cut short. But other than that, I felt like it was a solid performance. It's really his first full start in college football. My other game that I went ahead and did was versus Georgia NC. I don't know what I put that, but that was a national championship. That's why. I forgot my own lingo. And that was again this year, as most people probably remember. He comes up and makes a tackle, stuffs the run on the outside, and again, Georgia's a running team, so anytime you can get up and stuff the run, you're going to affect them. Feeling like he's playing basically a spy type of role. He had a nice spin off the edge, even with no tackle. Stuffs Chubb's down, basically kills Chubb down his throat, basically, and that's kind of been hard to do for a lot of teams. He's getting to the backfield, but the play is moving away from him, comes through blocks to make stops, gets a tackle for loss. He's going to fit like most Alabama linebackers do. On the downside, he's not Reuben Foster from a year ago. And that's kind of where you set his bar. I think he's one notch below him, but he's still going to be a valid starter. And I liked your player comparison, too. I thought that was very fitting.
Who's that?
Your NFL player you compared him to.
Which one? Shazier or Mosley?
Mosley. More Mosley than Shazier.
Yeah. I just like that one little segment. And we'll talk about this quite often. How we see a fragment of a player and how we'll just kind of splice it and take it out and kind of see that same thing in one of these college prospects. And we're not saying he's like Ryan Shazier. We're saying this, just the way he blitzes and the way he can come through the middle of the line. I think that's great, and I see a lot of similarities with Rashaan Evans and Ryan Shazier. Next guy up is a guy I'm really interested in talking about. Malik Jefferson from Texas. He's 6'2", 238 pounds. He ran a 4.53 40, which is 1/100th of a difference from Roquan Smith. Projected to go second to the third round. Did 27 bench reps, which is absolutely insane. I'm smiling ear to ear because this was my early favorite going into this whole process.
I feel like you should draft him and with one of the first two picks. I'm just saying.
Paul is actively trying to take my my draft pick where I'm going to take Roquan Smith. So there may be a little bit of tension in the room. But for Malik Jefferson, I think he's aware of the down and distance. A lot of the times in his highlight package, I would see a 3rd down and 1, and a lot of times he would be the guy making the play. He's relentless. He destroys running backs. He's one of the surest tackles in the inside linebacker class, and he's a 2014 Butkus Award winner.
He's also called the Predator.
Yep.
It's one of the things I like. I like the Predator.
I like his hair, too.
It's one of my favorite movies. He kind of looks like a predator, to be completely honest.
He almost kind of looks... And we're not here to judge other men and the way they look. I have to preface that. But you know how Kevin White looks like just ugly?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same look we get with Malik Jefferson. He's not the best looking guy. But he looks cool, He
looks good in pads.
Yep.
Put it that way. That's all I really care about.
Him against USC. They were throwing the ball around so much, it was really tough to get an opportunity for him to tackle. Because they're throwing those outs or those slants or the corners.
I know, man. It's hard. When you get excited about a guy, you get tongue-tied. I do the same thing.
Dude, I was smiling. I love this guy. He keeps fighting off blocks. He almost makes a sack. He makes a goal line stand where he comes around the edge. He's cutting through blocks. Again, I see him make a sack. He's throwing a block for a defensive back that ended up picking the ball. He literally looks like he's playing the Patriots out or what? Oh, they literally look like they're playing the Patriots out there. What I mean by this is the Patriots will do this dink and dunk and then they'll throw it deep. It's pretty common, especially against USC and the type of quarterback that they have. He has great acceleration. He saw the screen and he abused the running back. He shot through the line to tackle the running back on a power run. It's almost like he knew that play was coming, and he got on the inside hip of that offensive lineman. And that's really what you're taught from the inside linebacker position is find that hip pocket, go ahead and run with the fish, the school of fish, and then once you get your chance to jump off that train, go ahead and jump off that train. And that's when you make the tackle. This is one of the best plays that I've seen throughout this draft process. Again, this is my guy, and I'm going to bat for this guy, but I loved seeing that play.
You should draft him. I'm just saying, draft him like second overall in the league. I think that's a good deal to do.
There's about 40 seconds left in the fourth, and it seemed like he just came alive. This guy is definitely a clutch guy. One problem with him is he can get his weight over his knees. What I mean by that is it's tough for him to slow down. If he sees something, he'll go ahead and over pursue it just because he's so focused on making that hit. Whereas I'd like to see him slow down and just make the tackle instead of making that big hit and being a predator. I also watched another game against Oklahoma. He knifes through the guards, and he was outside most of the time. I don't know why they were playing him outside against Oklahoma. But I noticed that they were playing away from Malik Jefferson. And that's something that we saw in Paul's notes whenever they talked about Roquan Smith. Oklahoma did a good job of finding one of the better guys on the other side of the team, and they would game plan against them. He's a striker, spun out of a block to make the tackle, not losing speed, and that's something that you like seeing, especially whenever they come up to block him and he can find any means to make that tackle.
All right. For me...
Hey, Paul. Did I do too much? I'm Malik Jefferson.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Like, I liked him too. I liked watching a lot of his film. And I honestly put at the beginning of my notes, the Predator is the perfect nickname for this guy. So I really like him too. He hits hard, can wrap up very well, can show speed on the edge. Really came out against Notre Dame a few years back. That was really the game. And for whatever reason, whenever Texas plays Notre Dame, they seem to be really good football games. I just want to throw that out there, NCAA. He's another stud linebacker, and he'll be an effective inside linebacker for many teams. He punished Maryland. That was one game that he absolutely destroyed them in. He was able to bring down the quarterback while he tries doing a cut. He had a big hit to stop a potential first down. Able to split the running back option like wide open. My one game I chose was Iowa State this year because a lot of them I knew the USC game. I tried to skip that for a lot of these Texas players because Texas was just on another level that game. And the USC game from this year. I feel like that was a game that they're also very good in. Seeing him taking the lead and talking to his guys, I really liked that. Before the game, I watched some of the pregame stuff even, and he was really hyping up his guys. And, that's always important. I like the guys who are able to motivate.
Again, Paul mentioned that the linebacker is a lot like the quarterback of the defense. Yeah. And you got to be that leader for your defense. Yeah.
Especially nowadays, especially in the NFL, I see more guys getting hyped before games than I had in years before.
Yeah, especially with the green dot and you being the communications guy. Most of these inside linebackers are those green dot guys.
Yeah, the Mike men. Again, back to Iowa State. He was playing well in coverage so far in the game. He couldn't make it past a running back in pass coverage. I need to see guys be able to blow up running backs, especially when they're just in coverage, or especially when they're just trying to protect the quarterback. They should be able to get by him. He had a great stop by the scrambling quarterback, fighting through tackles, almost makes a huge sack, but still gets the pressure, and that was the main part of that. He was more of a pressure blitzer. Seems a bit slower than some of the other games I've seen versus Iowa State. Lays his head into his hits. He totaled 110 tackles and 4 sacks and 10 tackles for losses last season. Now, he does come with his areas of improvement. He needs to be able to shed blocks more. I feel like his coverage is good but not stellar. After reading around, I see that many teams question his effort and or love for the game. That's a concern. I didn't really know that until I read the scouting reports. I wouldn't have seen it from on tape. But he's still a value pick. The teams that draft him will be the ones who ask him the questions that got the right answers. He can be a good addition to any roster. I feel like he's easily number 3 for a reason.
All right, let's go back through these top three. We got Roquan Smith, who you already said was a first or second round in your rookie draft.
Especially Dynasty. Easy.
Yep. That's a, 10 team, 10 rounds?
Yeah.
Right. So, Rashawn Evans, where are you taking him?
Probably late second, early third.
Okay.
Depending on how the board falls. Because, again, I'm also including all the other defensive positions, and I'm talking, rookie safeties, all that stuff. So
okay, what line are you putting Bradley Chubb? He's undeniably probably the best defensive player in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you take out all the offensive rookies, I'd probably put him third on the defensive side. I just feel like Malik, Roquan. I think Chubb could fit in there. It's going to depend if he goes to the Colts. I feel like that's a good fit for him, and that could be one. If he ends up falling farther, we'll see where that lands him. But
and you evaluating linebackers over defensive linemen, would you put Bradley Chubb after Roquan Smith or before in your dynasty rookie draft?
I put Roquan Smith first.
Okay. Would you put Bradley Chubb after Malik Jefferson or after Rashawn Evans?
That's a good one.
I'm just trying to ask the question.
I'd probably put him right over Malik Jefferson. Right. I mean, again, I like Malik Jefferson. He's going to be somebody's first pick as linebacker, and that's a fine first pick.
Yep.
It just really depends on your team's needs. Like, I know my own personal team, I'm okay at defensive end. So it'd be one of those, do I want to, have another rookie come in? What'd you draft before? But where would you put Bradley Chubb?
I like Bradley Chubb. I think he's going to be a great talent. For my team, it's hard to kind of divorce my bias with what I've got on my team now. But if I were just looking at this from a blank slate, and I'm going to try to, I would put him past our next linebacker, Josie Jewell.
Okay.
This is a guy that I really like. You want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Josie Jewell, a linebacker out of Iowa, is 6'1", 230 pounds. He did run a 4.83, which is really slow for a linebacker. They typically run about 4.65 or so. Projected to go third to fourth round and did 18 on the bench. For Josie Jewell, I thought he was a fundamental tackler, tenacious. He had a good read on the offensive line flow. I like seeing this from my inside linebacker because if he can watch the offensive linemen and react to them, then he's a step ahead. He finishes plays well, and this dude, he gives me goosebumps, man. I don't know what it is about this guy. I would not be surprised, just because of the way he tackles and the way he finds plays, I would not be surprised if he's the second or the third best linebacker. I think he's got a lot of potential. I watched his game against Penn State. He was flowing really well. He positions himself well to make tackles and uses great pursuit angles. He always flows to the play well. Again, I noted that twice because I saw it multiple times. He wades through the trash to tackle Barkley. He got cut and gets up to tackle the quarterback. So the offensive lineman came out on him and they cut his feet. And usually when this happens, you go ahead and drop your hands and your shoulders and push down on the offensive lineman, either stepping over them or stepping to the side. But he had the wherewithal to go ahead and push the offensive lineman down, go make that sack, and that's something you like seeing. Later on, he ends up tipping the ball. His first mistake is 10 minutes in. This is where he prevents a touchdown dive for Barkley. And then it looks like Barkley beats him 2 more times. Again, most of these plays were for big yards. At one point, he made a big error, and that one went for the touchdown right here at the 10 minutes in. But other than that, there should have been a guy that made the tackle earlier on, so I'm going to kind of discount those. He jumped up on a blitz to knock the ball down. What I mean by this is he saw that he was going on a blitz, and then whenever he realized that they were passing, he went ahead and knocked the ball down. He ends up getting another bat down later on. He ends up getting an interception. And I think this kid has the top, if not the best, of football knowledge. I saw it on tape where he would make huge anticipation decisions. He made a tackle rolling into the wide receiver with his body, and trying to double. They started trying to double team him, and then they started running away from him. This guy is a technique football player, and I would not be surprised again if he is the second or third best linebacker out of this class.
I feel like we have the same general outlook on this guy. I really like Josie Jewell as well. I mean, I feel like he's an old school throwback to like the Big Ten linebackers of old.
Yeah.
That's how I felt watching him all year. He can drop back and make picks. He causes havoc with running backs. Again, I chose the Penn State game as well. He kept punching and gets a tackle, blows up a tight end block.
You know, Paul, I'm really hoping that you bring something up that I overlooked. Something that's holding him down to the third to fourth round, other than his speed.
Okay, we'll continue on. I don't remember what I put.
All right.
I like to keep it a surprise. But no, I went in depth with him, and I didn't have to look up a lot of the side issues like I do on some of these other guys, because he's one of those guys you just don't have to worry about.
Yeah, and I do want to note that Paul does a tremendous job at finding these little nuggets where there's a player that's, one, been hurt or two, been arrested, and he really teases them out, whereas if I'm trying to look for him, I have to struggle to find them. But I've stopped doing it now because Paul is so good at it.
I just try because I feel like the personal side of football is a lot of these guys, you know. Some of these guys, they cannot move on from their old ways, and their old ways cost them their NFL careers. I've seen it time and time again. And me as a dynasty owner, I don't want to put 3 years into a guy to have him leave, you know. I've done it with Sua Cravens, and I still can't cut the cord on that one. So, all right, so back to the Penn State game. He comes through the B gap for a tackle for loss on Barkley. Batted pass, tackle for loss at the goal line. Again, we don't see it often from middle linebackers. Love to see it when it happens. He pushes the play to the boundary, batted the ball up in the middle. Sack on the quarterback, comes off the block for a tackle. He can't outrun Barkley, but he pushes him to the boundary. And that, I feel like that's using your football intelligence. You're saying, hey, you may be able to best me in speed, but I can best you in where I want to put you. And I can put you in a spot that works for me, especially when I got Blazers on the outside of the field. He barely missed a tackle on Barkley after a cut move. He had a pick in coverage. Makes a tackle for loss on Swarley. Now, for some reason, I do not like Swarley's name because of just announcers and the fact that one in particular that I do not like. Whenever I have to watch film, I always hear he always says the quarterback's last name first. So he'll be like, Swarley. And it just, I can't stand that name anymore. But anyway, he does make a tackle for loss on the goal line. Plants and basically takes his arm and jams it up. Penn State contains Barkley very well, sending basically an offensive lineman to Jewell, and he is still able to get free. So again, something that I knocked on Roquan was getting off those offensive linemen. Josie Jewell was able to do and did it fairly well as well. Tackle on the boundary, again, he was making him run to the edge. Runs down Barkley, and I thought that was an impressive one, especially for his speed. Jewell gets another tackle by just continuing to watch Barkley, basically a waste and a wrap-up. He did miss some time this year, but he played well both against Buck's team and mine. He's not going to burn you with speed. He ran a 4.83, but he will make sound play. He improved his coverage and is ready for the next level. I feel like he's a guy who can be a dynasty stash easily.
Yeah.
Did I catch what I missed?
No,
What'd you overlook?
I don't know why he's valued at a third to fourth round in real life.
I think it's probably because he's a little bit slower guy and he doesn't have as much flash as some of those other guys up at the top. Yeah. You know, I still think probably Vander Esch is going to probably still get taken above him. And that's our next guy.
And again, I want to have a lively debate about two things. One, are you going to value age and size? Say Leighton Vander Esch. He's one of the taller dudes in the inside linebacker draft class. And then you got Tremaine Edmonds, who, albeit he's a great outside linebacker, but he's one of the younger guys, a lot like Juju Smith-Schuster last year. Do you draft guys like that because they have stuff that they can grow into? Or do you get the guys that are already good?
It's a very interesting question, and I'll answer you with what I've done once before. Is I drafted Kenny Clark in our Dynasty setup draft. The reason is that he was 21. Or no, he was 20. I apologize. So I knew that I could stash him and keep him for 2 or 3 years and not have to play him. I didn't really start playing him till this last season. And that's kind of when he started hitting some of his strides. So it's very beneficial a lot of times to take a risk on a younger guy, especially a guy who has that talent. And that's the good thing about Edmonds is he has that stuff already there. With Vander, again, I mean, if size kills, this guy's a murderer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, again, if you're putting the two of them beside each other, I'm still going to take Edmonds because I feel like Edmonds is going to be an immediate starter. Yeah. Vander Esch, I don't know if he's going to be an immediate starter. It really depends on where he gets drafted at. Because he could go at the end of day 2, and usually the end of day 2 line is your maybe being in the starting mix typically when you come out of the draft.
Yeah. Could you see a lot of guys in the fantasy football industry taking Vander Esch before Jewel?
Before Jewel? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because he's faster and taller.
All right, let's dig into him. He's coming out of Boise State. He's 6'4", 256 pounds. Ran a 4.66 40. That's right about where the average linebacker has been running in the past couple of years. He's projected to go second to the 3rd round and did 20 on the bench press. For me, I've got notes to say this dude is tall as hell. He looks huge on the film. Mm-hmm. He uses his length as leverage. He runs like he's uncoordinated. I didn't think he was fluid on tape, and I kind of saw a couple times where he was guessing at the combine, and this is a nod to maybe anxiety, or maybe he really is uncoordinated. Maybe it matches the film that we saw, or I saw. He does make a game-winning fumble recovery, and that was kind of his closing piece to his highlight video. I thought that was kind of funny because that's not typically where people go with their closing highlight. That being said, I watched 2 games because the first game I wasn't really sold, so I watched 2. First game was against Oregon. He is a technique tackler. He had his head across the body, forcing a fumble. He reads plays well. He bails fast into coverage. He baits the quarterback to pass over him, and he has deceptive length. He fights through blocks, and he ended up making a sack. Overall, good tape. Wyoming, he's using advanced blitzes, twist from the linebacker position. Don't really recommend this because it's typically slow and hard to set up unless you've got extended periods. I didn't think that he had explosive speed to be executing this blitz well. Again, I talked about how those blitzes take a little bit of time to set up. He tried to punch the ball out of Allen's hands on the goal line drive. I like seeing this. That's something that is really impressive, and it's the wherewithal to try and force that fumble. He got sidestepped and spun out by Allen. Drool. I put drool because I'm starting to fall in love with Josh Allen. He's missing a second move in the pass rush. All I see is him just bull rush, and that's pretty common of defensive linemen who are under-equipped in their tools. I'd like to see him play more physical. He ended up getting a sack. He was tripped in the trash. The trash is whenever there's a wave of offensive linemen or a couple offensive linemen. How do you fight through that? And if this dude is tripping, and we saw that he was uncoordinated on film and in the combine notes, that's not necessarily something you like seeing, especially whenever the guy looks like Frankenstein.
Ah, don't be stealing my line, man. That is my line.
Really a Frankenstein.
God. Stealer. Man, he's been reading my notes.
But he did end up making a good tackle through trash later on. The next play, he got roasted by G. Don't know who G is. Anyways, the guard. He freezes when the offensive guard comes up to get him. He gets spun out by Allen. Overall, the Wyoming game was kind of what made me dig into the Oregon game. I like the Oregon game. At the end of the day, I still feel like he is not coordinated. And I think that's a sign to the 6'4". I mean, Paul, you and I both know a kid that we went to high school with. And typically these taller guys that don't really continue to do all the training that they need to make themselves fluid and balanced. they can struggle. And plays like that, he can take himself out of contention for a tackle, even though he was successful throughout his career at Boise State. And I'm not going to talk crap on Boise State because in all the other podcasts I talk crap on divisions.
All right. For me, for Esch or Layington, I don't know where to go. Leighton, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of hard. You have 3 names to choose from. But Leighton blew up in 2017. He had 141 tackles, 91 of them solo. That's a beautiful number. I like seeing that. 8.5 for loss, 4 sacks, 3 picks. I mean, that stat line alone is a killer. Like, imagine if he was able to do that in the NFL, or part of that in the NFL. He had injuries back in 2016 that kept his numbers low. In film, I see a big guy. Again, I mentioned it in our safeties podcast, or our combine podcast. I don't know why people aren't calling him Frankenstein. That's why Buck said it, because I've been saying this guy should be called Frankenstein. Because he can be really stiff, and I'm going to get into that at the very end of this one. But, again, for his size, I mean, he's able to drive the running back into the quarterback. I thought that was a beautiful play. Like, I may not get the quarterback, but I'm going to push your running back into you and get the sack that way. He uses his strong, long stride to get to the quarterback. He got a pick by reading the quarterback's eyes, swatted the ball down. His hit caused a forced fumble to end a game in overtime. Again, regardless of competition, that's still a winner. Versus Wyoming, I think Buck and I chose the exact same games again. He waves off a block to get a tackle, runs down the fullback, stuffing the pile to stop a touchdown. Miss a tackle on Allen, blows off the block. I didn't put drool on Allen, I'm sorry. I didn't get the notes on that one.
Yeah, I had to get a whole box of Kleenexes.
He blows off a big block on a tackle for a pitch. He hit Allen on the sideline, comes back from the blitz and gets stopped, keeps driving and pursuing. While he's being blocked, he gets a tackle, takes on a double team to pursue to get a teammate open. So again, I feel like this is a selfless act, which I really like to see. I don't mind actually that in tape. I think is great because you're playing with your teammates. He does have a play where he over pursues. He didn't wrap up on a sure sack, and that was the one that I was really like, come on, man, you got to wrap that one up.
Always wrap it up.
Always wrap it up, exactly. Versus Oregon this year in the Las Vegas Bowl. He had a nasty hit on a running back dump, and he murdered him in open field and got a forced fumble. It was similar. I'm not saying it is, but it was close to the Javion Clowney hit is what it reminded me of, especially being in a bowl game. That's what I would like to preface that one as. It was a highlight hit. He gets a wrap-up, meets the running back in the hole for a tackle. He keeps reading and attacking. He's really reading this Oregon offense very well, and that's been difficult for a lot of teams. He was fighting through blocks, blows up a gap for a big tackle for loss, holds up the running back before the first. He does get capped by a wide receiver from the side, just one of those blindside hits. One-on-one hit versus the rolling quarterback, kills on a stunt and drags the O-line with him. I wanted to watch the Oregon game for the fact that Oregon can spread you out and make you run, and that was the one thing that I thought is that he's been really tight. Vander Esch kept pace and looked like the best out there on film. Out of all the games I've watched, that was his best one. Yeah, I thought that was a good film for him. Again, I stuck through it all the way through, and I thought he looked like the best player on Boise's team. Flat out looked like the best. One issue I did have in film and in the combine is he looked really tight-hipped and timid a lot of the time. On the hip drill in the combine, which is important when you're a linebacker, he was tight-hipped. But most of the other drills he did perform quite well in. If he can become more fluid, like the top guys we talked about, like the Roquan Smiths, the Malik Jeffersons, the Rashawn Evans, even the Josie Jewells right above him, I feel like this guy can be a stud. Depending on where the team is, I think he could be a week 1 starter. It just really depends on the team.
Yeah.
And he's a second to third rounder projected. I feel like he'll be probably middle, second day, and probably get drafted.
Paul's a Packers fan. I'm a Raiders fan. And one thing John Gruden loves about his linebackers is he likes height. And I really hope we don't get this dude.
Yeah, I think they could draft 2.
I see us drafting a corner, but...
Well, yeah, because they're not going to get anyone in free agency, which we kind of covered in one of our other podcasts.
Yeah.
So again, if we're comparing apples to apples, I mean, Esh, in most people's eyes, are going to probably be up there with Malik Jefferson, maybe ahead of him a little bit.
Yeah.
It just really depends. It's going to depend on team need and where he fits in at.
What are your thoughts? You like Leighton higher than Malik?
No. I mean, I like him where we have him on here. I'm just saying there are going to be a lot of people who think he's going to be up there, but I see a lot more holes than some of these other guys up here. That's the one big takeaway. So the next guy up on our list is Darius Leonard, linebacker for South Carolina State. He's 6'3", 235. Sounds like something out of a song. I swear they say 6'3", 235. Isn't that Big John? No, 6'6". All right, I'm close on that. That's just what it sounded like to me.
Big John.
That's what it sounded like. He ran a 4.6 or a 4.7 at the combine. Projected second to third round pick. Did 17 on the bench press. This guy hits with a purpose and wastes very few motions. Can stop and change direction on many tackles. He had a jumping interception for a pick 6. He keeps his head up and watches the play progress. Has a very nice blitz through the A-gap. He has length and can produce very well. He's not a blazer, though. I mean, the 4.7 at the combine kind of shows you he's not that speed guy.
I'm comfortable with that, though.
Yeah, and again, that's fine middle linebackers. I kind of look at the coverage skills. If they can be a slow cover guy, that's still a cover guy. Yeah. You don't have to have the quickness. But again, compared to these top guys, he's a little bit slower besides Jewell.
I think that does kind of limit him being a 3-down linebacker, though.
Yeah, it's really going to depend on team fit. All right, for me, I watched the UCF game in 2016. I went 1 year back. You choose the same one?
Yep.
Yeah, nice. He has a great pre-snap read, keeps running to the play. Hard to tackle on the boundary, but he still makes it. Shed block to reroute the running back. He basically line tackles a running back, and for those of you who haven't signed up for our premium, which is only $4.99 for 12 months, just throwing that out there, we talked about what a lion tackle for us means, and it basically means, like, if you watch the Animal Planet, you're going to see a lion run and jump, and basically jump on the back of his L and take him down. That's what a lion tackle is to us.
Yeah, he just drops the legs like dead weight.
Yep, and just drops on him. So I really feel like that's the perfect analogy to run that one, especially on that one where he tackles the running back. It was a beautiful play. He keeps his head up and stays with the play, tracks down running backs for tackles, gets a forced fumble on a tackle, pushing the pile, another good tackle, running down running backs. He had 113 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 8 sacks on the year, 1 pass breakup, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble. That is a lot of stats to get through. He was also a standout to me at the Senior Bowl. He was playing very well in coverage, and that was one thing that I had him downgraded in a lot of my notes. And he was making plays that I didn't see him make in some of the games. And again, when you're at the Senior Bowl, you're playing with supposedly most of the best guys. He has a huge upside and can be one of the best form tacklers in this draft class.
There are a couple nuggets that you didn't mention that I'm really happy to announce. This guy's got a smaller body. He's lean, mixed bag of tackles, different types. Sometimes he'll make a sound tackle. Sometimes he'll wrestle the running back to the ground with threads. Something I don't like seeing, especially when a running back could get away. An interesting tackle that I saw was he slapped the hips of the running back to tackle him. Did you happen to see that?
Yes.
That was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. He was just like, no.
Give him a bone bruise while you're at it.
Yeah. Another stat or nugget that we like to give out here are like heartwarming stories. This one's not really heartwarming, but he did propose to his girlfriend on senior day in high school. You saw that? I
did see that. I didn't put it in. I'm glad I did.
Yeah, where's that nugget, Paul? The pros for him, I've got that he has a nose for the football. This guy showed up in the Senior Bowl and the UCF game. UCF game, he missed a wrap-up tackle. He ended up making a tackle later on. He got pushed down the field by an offensive lineman. He shed a block the next play. Took himself out of the play the next play. Caught in the tide. That's 3 plays that you don't like seeing. He read the screen well and made the tackle. He made a pass breakup on a blitz. He sheds the block and makes multiple tackles in this game. Looks a little timid at times, though. We're seeing a lot of up and downs with his play in this UCF game. But at this point, I'm comfortable with that because there's a huge drop-off coming. He allows a touchdown on the second effort of the goal line, something you don't like seeing, especially from inside linebacker. You want to see those guys that become dogs within the 20s. He keeps making plays downfield where his guys will make mistakes, but he's an effort guy, and he can catch them down the field. Another thing I'm seeing is that he likes to catch on inside runs. This is why I've got him a little bit lower. Is I feel like if you're going to be playing inside linebacker, you need to be a dog. You need to be dominant, and you want to see a guy that can go ahead and take everything on, regardless of if they make that tackle or not. Kind of like Rashaan Evans. I would like to see them blow up that play and create an open gap for their linebackers. The cons for him is he has a tendency to catch if the running back meets him in the hole. And I'd like to see him keep his feet driving and execute a takedown. Who we got next, Paul?
All right, next up is another Alabama linebacker.
Yes, I love this guy.
Yay, Alabama linebackers. All right, we have Sean Dion Mustard Hamilton. Inside linebacker from Alabama. He's 6'0", 232.
Did you say mustard?
Yeah. Dion Mustard Hamilton.
I don't get it.
Dion Mustard, Dijon Mustard,
Oh,
Dion. Come on, man.
Oh,
Because the guy's going to be a mustard of a good sandwich of defense. Come on, man. I'm making analogies here. Again, he's 6'0", 232. Projected 4.63. Did not run at the combine. He had 20 on the bench press. Projected 3rd to 4th round pick. For myself, Sean is an injury risk. And that's why I have him listed in purple on my game tape. And that's why he's down lower on my list than some of these other guys. If he wasn't hurt, he'd probably be up there in the Joji Drool mix for me. When healthy, he can play with power. In film, I saw him flow with every play, crash inside, attacking the gap, held on a block and still got a tackle, was effectively covering the tight end, lining up on guys and tackling them. My issue is the last 2 years. He had a blown-out ACL in 2016 and a knee injury in November 2017 and missed the rest of the year. I don't like to hitch my wagon to a linebacker with recent knee injuries. That's something that it's a big hang-up of mine. I try not to let it, but that's the reason I didn't draft Smith when he came out from Notre Dame, is because I didn't know how long that injury was going to last. If he wouldn't have had it, he would have probably been a pick of mine. If he can get healthy, though, for Hamilton, I think he could be a high-level backup and maybe produce into a starter.
For Sean Dion Mustard Hamilton, I've got... What?
Attaway. Come on up to the level, baby.
I've got that he's a tenacious tackler, blitzing linebacker, fundamentals, strong legs, so damn physical. He recently underwent a fractured kneecap. That's something you don't like seeing.
Nope.
Against Michigan State, I thought that he shed the blocks really well. He was relentless. He slid in the pocket of the blockers. Again, we talked about that earlier, how you can ride the offensive linemen to their destination, jump off, and tell that running back to get off the train tracks. He batted the ball. He got ear-holed by the offensive lineman. You don't like seeing that. Later on, he got blown back by the offensive lineman. One thing I do like seeing is how he makes a presence in the hole. He ends up making the tackle. USC was the other game. He had speed to get to the edge fast. Again, we talked about how Malik Jefferson was getting thrown out to the edge, and he didn't really have the speed to go ahead and get there like Sean Dion Hamilton. He blew up a play for a tackle for loss. He was always in the backfield, correctly chasing, pulling guards. That's something I like seeing from the inside linebacker. If that guard is going to go ahead and pull, I want to see the defensive tackle or defensive end crash down and ride that hip pocket. Once you ride that hip pocket, again, tell them to get off the train tracks. But it looks like he's protecting his legs. He almost always stops if he's being cut. Again, I put check injury history. I added that fractured kneecap later whenever I found that. He was in on a lot of gang tackles. I don't know why. I wanted to confirm if he was a standalone linebacker or if he needed to be a special teams guy to find a spot on a team. And I think he could be a standalone linebacker. He reminds me a lot of Donnell Ellerby. You know,
yeah, it's not a bad comparison. I'm all right with that one.
The next guy up, I have very little notes on.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. You know, especially a guy who's supposed to be a projected 3rd or 4th rounder. Very hard to find film on this guy, and that's Oren Burks, inside linebacker from Vanderbilt. He's 6'3", 230, ran a 4.59, 18 on the bench, 3rd to 4th round projected.
You're gonna laugh at my notes. I'll go ahead and knock mine out real fast.
Okay.
This guy's a nerd. He wanted to create a what's it called?
I don't
A
know.
program at his school, and usually the only people that do that are nerds. You know.
Hey, that means he has a high IQ, and that means inside linebacker to me.
Yep.
Flipping that into a positive.
Very limited tape, though. He was helping out his community. He also created another project. It's called Revamp. It's for black males. He went ahead and he made this place for everybody of his ethnicity to hang out and to have a good time. You know, kind of talk about their struggles and how they can be professional.
Is that all you got on him?
Yeah, he's a leader, man. Again, the only thing I could find on him was his positives. You know, I'd like to see, hey, this guy could not read the blitz or read the pass. You know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I didn't.
All right. Burks comes from the same team as Zach Cunningham, so that's kind of how I judge this because, again, lack of film. And this year, he put up 82 tackles, 7 for loss, 1 interception, 3 pass breakups. In 2007, and this year in 2017, while Cunningham was gone. Again, Cunningham is a starter, projected to be a starter now in the NFL now with the old man being out of there. Now, Burks did beat Cunningham in all categories in the combine except for arm length. He beat him in everything else. Times everything.
That is amazing.
Arms measurables. I would never have guessed that.
Cunningham was a freak last year.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy about it, you know.
Yeah.
I would have liked to. I mean, I saw plenty of him in the combine itself in the drills, but I didn't expect that until I looked at the side-by-side. I thought that was crazy. I am impressed by the comparison, but Burks also played the safety hybrid role his freshman and sophomore year. So the guy has a little bit of that extra knowledge, put it that way. Some scouts say he hasn't mastered any of those positions, though. That's been the major hang-up. But as a rookie, that means that the knowledge is there, and he can be molded. I wish I could find more film, but it's just not out there for whatever reason. I found some breakdowns, though, against South Carolina. Again, I did a lot of digging. I finally found something on the back end of a website, so I finally found something. He came from the backside and got a forced fumble. He was assigned to a blitz, but pulled out to cover the running back that would have been wide open.
Always pull out if you see something going wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, that running back's going to leave you high and dry. He lined up all over the field. He's most likely going to be a backup and a developmental talent on the next level. You want me starting on the next one? Do we have anything?
Yeah.
Now, Oren Burks and Deshaun Hamilton, do you take the risk of lack of tape for Burks, or do you take the risk of has had injuries with Hamilton?
I'm going to take what I saw on film from Sean Dion, Mustard Hamilton.
Okay.
All right, I'll take the next guy. We got to Gray Scales coming from House, Indiana. 6 foot, 230, projected to go 3rd to 5th round, ran a 4.7840 and did 27 on the bench press. Not surprising because my first notes on this dude is he is very physical. I watched the game against Ohio State, and he disengages. He makes the tackle. The next play, he took himself out of the play because he spins back into the runner for the tackle, and then he spins away from the runner once he realizes that he's making contact with the runner. He made a good read and ends up getting the tackle later on. He helps out on a tackle pretty much right after, getting in a fight around the goal line. That's something you don't like seeing because that can cause your team to give up extra yardage. If they do make the touchdown, that comes on the kickoff, and especially if you're Indiana, you He got blown into the end zone and ends up giving up the touchdown. He made a great job cutting under the offensive lineman for a tackle. Blocked out of the play later on. He almost got a sack on a delayed blitz. What was that, 40 again? 4.78. That's why he did not get that sack. He threw a block on an interception. Later on, he's caught guessing, and he picked up by the backside offensive lineman. He made the wrong read, so he tried to correct himself, and the offensive lineman went ahead and redirected him. He reads the eyes of the quarterback, but he can be shook. The reason why is because in this game, the quarterback was looking directly at him, and then he would pump fake, and then he would throw it. And if you pump fake one way to Grayscales from House, Indiana, he's going to run that way. So, I'd be setting up play action just to get this guy going all game. Other than that, I don't know. A lot of ups and downs as I'm reading my notes on him. And I think he's accurately placed right behind Oren Burks, where we see production on the stat sheet, but we don't see it in the film.
All right, for me, I think it's funny on this one we both chose our own teams to watch film on. So, all right, for me, he has to be in Game of Thrones with this name. So I'm hoping he becomes famous just to be in Game of Thrones before it ends. Make that happen. I'm stealing Mayock's line here, and I think he's quicker than he is fast. And I feel like that's an accurate representation from how Buck broke down his film and how mine came out. Again, he ran a 4.78 at the Combine. His tape shows me that he can attack and run on special teams. He can hit very well in space. Versus my team in Wisconsin this year, 2017, he gets blocked out on 2 plays in a row, gets a pick in the end zone, gets blocked again, comes up to stuff a run, keeps running with plays, cuts so far in that he missed. A sack after being held, makes a one-on-one tackle, misses a low tackle, missed on Taylor, comes through the gap for a big tackle for loss, keeps head up to pursue the play. Nice tackle back-to-back. I chose this game for a reason, not just because it's Wisconsin, but the reason is his size versus Wisconsin's offensive line, which is typically one of the bigger offensive lines in college football. He was up and down, just like Buck's notes, and will need to make a name for himself on special teams. But if you want a bomb fantasy name out of him, go for it, bro. You can change your name up.
Yep.
That's just a bonus. That's a side bonus.
Honestly, I think Grayscales is right on the edge of being a starter and being a special teams guy at the pro level.
Exactly.
I think he's got a lot to work on. You need to go to a team like the Patriots where they see one thing. That little fragment, again, that we talked about earlier with Roquan Smith and Ryan Shazier, they may see something into Grayscales.
One coach I think could help him is if he goes to the Jets and Kevin Green. I will pound the table all day for Kevin Green. He's one of the reasons that Green Bay won the Super Bowl in 2010. Wish he would have come back to Green Bay instead of going to the Jets, but that's a guy who can coach linebackers and take those weaknesses and make them positives. Next guy right under to Gray is going to be Micah Kaiser, linebacker out of Virginia. Again, we have a lot of the ACC right here, all in the same area.
Yeah,
see how that works out again. They
They
kind of all end up bunching together for whatever reason. Again, he is 6'0", 240, 4.67 40. Didn't participate in the bench and projected 3rd to 5th round pick. For me, straight to film for him was nice to see. He got a stolen pick, maintains gap integrity, collapses a blitz, batted ball, hits and holds on a tackle. One worry is most of his tackles are assisted tackles, and that's a major red flag for me, but not a red flag where I'd actually flag it. I mean, that's just something that happens, seems like, at Virginia. I don't know why. I like to see a mix when I look at the score or in the tackle box. I like to see a guy who has more of a mix, and that being hopefully leading to more solos than assisted tackles. Or even leaning towards solos makes a big difference. For Virginia Tech, and this is a prime example just from the stats, he had 18 total tackles, 5 of them were solo. Again, in the NFL, when you're talking fantasy football, you'll get some numbers from assists, but you won't get as much from solos. Am I correct?
You get more for solos than assists.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in our projected and favorite scoring system, which we got on our website under the scoring tab. And I believe it was or is now our pen tweet.
Yep.
It is. You can check it out and how it stacks up. With our scoring system, we really haven't had a problem. We do a good job of balancing the pass rushing linebackers as well as the more traditional linebackers with the defensive end, defensive tackles.
Yeah, so that kind of goes with my point. You know, again, 18 total tackles, only 5 solo. Versus Indiana, he had 14 total tackles, only 4 solos. Versus Virginia Tech, 19 total tackles, 5 solo. In the bowl game versus Navy, he had 11 tackles, 1 solo. In a bowl game. I mean, those numbers are hard for me, you know, especially with assists. He had no sacks after week 3. I see him being a run stuffer and a kid who hasn't evolved quite there in coverage yet. I feel like over his time being a 3-year starter, he should have been able to pick some more of this up or have a little bit more tools.
Yeah.
He will need to become a reliable solo tackler before getting a starting role and or before being on my fantasy team.
Yeah. I think one of the things that really kind of buoys him up on his team is his ability to be a playmaker. He had multiple interceptions and fumble recoveries. And last year, again, you talked about his heavy tackle number, sack number, and fumble recoveries. I went ahead and watched him against Boise State. I thought that he flowed really well. He almost got a sack on a twist. I thought that he's going to be a run support specialist at the pro level because of his stiff hips. And when I say stiff, I have it in all caps and multiple eyes. So stiff hips. He gave up a touchdown after over pursuing. He ran by the wide receiver with no intention of tackling him. That's something you don't like seeing. And that's something that you learn at the lowest level. Later on, he was making an open field tackle and carried for 7+ yards. What's that weight again?
His weight is 240.
240, okay. And he's getting blown up by blockers. So a guy like Roquan Smith, who's not necessarily getting blown up by backers, has found this uncanny ability to knife behind the offensive lineman, whereas Micah Kaiser just kind of accepts the fact that he's not going to get around him. And I don't like seeing that, and that's a big reason why we have him ranked so low. And I'm glad that you switched Dorian O'Daniel because I think that he should have been higher. And whenever we post this on Twitter, I think it'll...
Yeah, I literally just moved our ranks while we were talking about it live because I kind of forgot about Micah Kaiser and some of the stuff I put in there until I reread it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I did have Dorian a little bit higher than him.
Yeah.
So we made an adjustment. So really after the gray scales, we had Dorian O'Daniel and then Micah Kaiser. So I'm going to go ahead and let you hit Dorian O'Daniel first.
I will find my note. Oh, there he is. So we got Dorian O'Daniel coming out of Clemson, 6'1", 220, ran a 4.6 140, projected to go 4th to 6th round, and did 21 on the bench. I think that projected round is going to drop. I see him going 2nd to the 3rd, based on his.
I hope you mean raise, not drop.
Or raise, whatever.
We may be 6th to free agent by the time that.
It depends on your state of mind and everything else. Okay, we got Dorian O'Daniel. This guy's energy is refreshing. Again, we see where he's at on the projected rank or projected rounds, and I like to go through my draft process, going to the top to the bottom. And right whenever I got to that 4th round, I was really excited to see a player with some talent. His tackles are legitimately like a lion on a gazelle. I did not write this with yesterday's stuff in mind. It was not.
Great minds think alike, folks. Great minds think alike.
No, but did you see the same thing?
Yeah.
The way he tackled? I just like seeing him rip the guy down, drop his legs, and stunt the running back.
But to be fair with accuracy, we probably should have called it a tiger. Like taking down. Can they take down gazelles? Do they even have those in that part of the country?
Lions take down gazelles, though.
Yeah. Tigers take down other things.
Or we could say a zebra.
Sure, let's just go with that. In our zoo, we do whatever we want.
All right, against Alabama, he was in the quarterback's face. He reads a toss play and makes a huge tackle for a loss. He's always crashing backside. What I mean by this is whenever a linebacker is left unassisted, the goal is to just slide down the line and follow the ball, but still maintain the contain. So if you're sliding down, you're minimizing the contained pocket that they can come back to and make a play out of. And if you can do that effectively, you minimize the lanes that the running backs can run through and you assist your teammates. He gives no yards on contact once contact is made. He gave up a touchdown to Ridley in the back of the end zone. He just gave up on his coverage. Something you don't like seeing. But it really shouldn't have been on him because it was at the end of his zone if they were in fact in zone coverage, which it looked like. He got ear-holed by the wide receiver on a crackback, and he fights off the offensive lineman well. There were a lot more notes that we had on this guy in the Senior Bowl. He played really well. Paul, you got anything on him? I know we kind of covered him in the Combine yesterday.
Yeah, we did. I had a few things. I watched the game versus Virginia Tech 2017. He pushed a blocker into the wide receiver. Love seeing that. Just use that like just straight strength. He's getting comeback tackles on screens. He's playing in some coverage as well, making sound tackles. Can see some of his speed and coverage. Trails a wide receiver across the field for a stop. Safety deep a few times. That's kind of the way Clemson runs, so I'm not surprised by seeing that. Tipped the ball and led to a pick six. I really liked his tape, and it shows some of his better coverage skills out of this level of guys. And what I mean by level of guys is the 4th to 6th round projected guys. And again, we have him in the mix of 3 to 5. So again, around here or there. Going to the next level, I can see him being a bargain player, given the chance to play on special teams and really make a name for himself.
All right, I know we're kind of walking the tightrope of where we see these guys in real life, where we see them in fantasy. Are you drafting Oren Burks in fantasy right now before the draft?
Am I drafting
Oren Burks to your fantasy team? Again, you got 10 rounds. You got 10 draft picks with a 10 team.
No, because there's probably not, because there's a couple of guys that I would rather take a risk on. Even though Oren Burks may be more solid, I like to take risks on some of these lower guys.
Okay.
And we're going to get there to these lower guys, and you guys are going to hear some noise on your end of the podcast having to listen to this, so I do apologize in advance. I'm going to be pounding the table pretty hard for a couple of these guys.
To gray scales, you taking in?
Sure. Absolutely. Change my team name. No, I think he has some good upside. Again, he'd be a late pick for me. But again, a guy who I think could play in. Again, him is going to be where he's drafted and where other, say he goes to the Colts, I think he could be in the mix to play.
Okay.
Just because of the linebacker. Again, Buck says they have unathletic linebackers. So
John Bostic. We're calling out you, John Bostic. All right, and we got Dorian O'Daniel. I'm definitely drafting him. Probably draft him in the 5th or 6th round.
Okay, I'm going to mark that in my notes. 5th to 6th. Draft in front of Buck. Get pick. Okay, got it. Noting that in my binder. All right, the next guy we have up is Matthew Thomas, inside linebacker from Florida State. 6'2", 232, 4.58 40, projected 4th to 6th round pick. Did not participate in the bench. I think he was still having a bicep issue, but I didn't really get clarification, so that's just hearsay. I love his size and his speed, and it was way better than I thought going into the Combine. Most likely needed to go back to FSU one more year, so I think it's a guy who came out before he was really needed to. I think if he waited next year, he may be up in that top 10, top 6 maybe of next year's linebackers. We won't know now. He even made the not top 10 list on ESPN before. He had a pick 6, decided to roll into the end zone, but his knee went down on the 1-yard line. And then on top of that, he got flagged for excessive celebration on the touchdown, which wasn't a touchdown, and the ball got put at the 16-yard line. Classic is what I put on here. Classic. My biggest takeaway from film, though, I don't know exactly if I want to. I kind of talked about a little bit. Sorry, I'm going through these ACC notes, and I'm like, well, a lot of these are the same. But I'll just kind of go with his highlights. My biggest takeaway from film is he doesn't have the instincts like the men above him. There's a lot of guys who I see that attack, kind of like we talked about with O'Daniel, Scales, and on up, besides probably Burks because we didn't see a lot of film. I mean, that's the only thing we can hark on. Several times I saw him put himself out of place and not really ecstatic or, really popping on tape. He will need to impress and learn to be a good teammate, and I think a veteran presence can help this guy, maybe mold him into an NFL player. And I feel like that's going to be his hope to maybe eventually becoming a starter. But I feel like with Thomas, he's going to have a longer road. I put him up here above a couple of these guys just because of some flag issues. But honestly, as we get farther down this list, there's a couple of guys who I like more than Matthew Thomas. So he may get re-ranked.
Okay.
But right now I just stuck him in the 4 to 6s and just kind of mixed him in.
That's interesting because I had something that may counter that. All right, he's got a long body. He's always wanting to make the big hit, and he may lack strength. What was his bench press? Did not participate. That is a huge sign.
Yep.
So that's something to keep in mind. To me, he looked very raw. He made that dumb play where he went down on the 1 yard line.
Did you know that too?
Yeah.
Nice. Attaboy.
I put in college, that means you're down. Like, come on, buddy. I watched the game against Michigan. He had a huge tackle for loss on the goal line. He made a touchdown-saving tackle. I thought he did a great job camouflaging himself in the zone. People call it a lurk. What you're doing is you're trying to, understand what's going on. And if you can understand what's going on, you can put yourself in a position where it looks like you're doing one thing and you're sneaking in, but he was able to jump out and get back out on his wide receiver. He gives up his outside shoulder multiple times. This shows a sign, lack of contain. So we're seeing lack of contain, lack of strength, and maybe making some terrible decisions. I do think he makes some great tackles on contact. Good tackle for loss later on. He's fighting across blocks well, so this is kind of a counter to does he lack strength, and this is one thing that I was looking for whenever I watched his highlight package. And why was there a low grade on this guy? In my notes I've got ask Paul. Maybe Paul knew something, like a character problem, or just injury history. You got anything on that?
I feel like sometimes he just lacks that commitment, or maybe he's just like, well, someone else will make the play.
Yeah.
I feel like, I can't say that for sure because I'm not in his head. I don't know. I'm not a psychic.
Yeah.
But I felt like watching him, and again, I watch Florida State quite often. Didn't watch them a lot this year because they were terrible, but I felt like watching him was watching a guy who's just like, it's all right. It's okay.
I'm going to try and summarize what you're trying to say and what I think I saw. He's very volatile. I would see him make a great play, and then the next play I'd see him make a dumb play.
Yeah, I could see that.
But guys like that, can you rope back in? Can you get them to do what you want them to do play after play? Typically, statistics don't show that.
Yeah, and again, I think a good veteran presence would help him out. One that I could think of off just the top of my head would be Seattle. They don't have the fastest linebackers.
Yeah. Why do we do that, Paul?
I don't know.
Absolutely insane.
Because I was thinking about guys who are really good at their game and can mold. So, again, Bobby Wagner's not the fastest guy. He wasn't the fastest guy in his draft. So, it's, doesn't just because of speed. But Bobby Wagner's one of the strongest guys.
On that same note, there was another guy that I was thinking about was KJ Wright, a guy that's unathletic by the lay of the law and his 40 and all these other metrics. But he's a smart player. And you can teach smarts. That's why all these people who can't get jobs have college degrees. I'm one of them. But my point is, I see a lot of potential here, and we're not seeing it really on the field in a consistent manner.
Here.
Go ahead and take the next guy, Paul.
All right, this guy. This one's difficult to talk about because I was so high on him a year and a half ago, and then he just kind of fell off. That's why he's down here in this range. And that is Asim Victor, inside linebacker from Washington. He is 6'2", 232, ran a 4.73, which was actually a better time than I expected. He's a 4th to 6th round projected pick and did 19 on the bench. The reason we talk about bench, I don't think we talked about it yet on this podcast, is we like to, there's kind of a threshold for benchers. For linebackers, especially inside guys, we want to see 15 and above. We probably want to see the range from 15 to 23. If you can get above that range, I feel like you're hitting way solid. I mean, you look at Jannard Avery, you look at DeGray Scales. DeGray Scales and Malik Jefferson both had 27 reps. I mean, those are showing they're strong guys. So that's why we reference the bench. The bench.
Okay.
All right. For Asim. He's a player that I loved. Again, like I just mentioned before, he broke his leg, ending his season early a year ago. In 2017, the reason he's a red flag now is he got suspended one game for a failed drug test at the start of the season. Multiple sources have probably told me that it was marijuana was the failed drug test. Then he was arrested on a DUI. He lost his starting spot at linebacker. He played some D-end to try to get a starting spot, but he's a linebacker. He's not a defensive end. That's just not what he is. And then you take all these negative or character issues, and I kept digging on him because I really wanted to find out more about these issues, and I found that he actually is really a hard worker in the community, and that's something I didn't know without looking it up. And he actually started a foundation. It's called Azim's Dream Foundation. You get to go.
Are you going to tell us the website?
No, I don't have the website.
I was just feeling it. I was like, Paul's about to whip out the website.
It gets tutor supplies to kids in middle school. And I think that's a cool thing, especially since he started. And the reason he started it was because when he was in middle school, he had a really tough time. He didn't have supplies where he grew up at. So I really like that. I think that's a Walter Payton type of thing for me. Mm-hmm. And that shows a lot to character. You may have the dumb stuff up here at the top, but maybe starting to pull it around. Now, let's go on his field tape. He stops a run for a touchdown in its tracks, gets a pick six, can scream and speed on the blitz, punch the ball out, rats up through the C-gap, crush the quarterback, special teams tackler. Versus Fresno State in 2017, and this was before he lost his starting spot. He missed on an easy-looking play, leaning into blocks, really starting to cause havoc for those offensive linemen. Attacked the tight end to get an incomplete pass. Comes off the block for a tackle. Team up. He pulled up big in the third quarter, and then again, when I mean the team was up, Washington was killing him. It was like 52 to 7.
Yeah.
So he got pulled in the third. But that one, I thought he started off a little rough and then turned it out really well before eventually they took out the starters. So I went ahead and found another game, and I went back to 2016 versus Cal. He cleans up a tackle, has a tackle for loss, helps Vita with a tackle, reading the quarterback, shreds the running back and gets a near sack, keeps with the back to get a tackle, again, kind of a lion tackle, causes a quick throw. I even put on here, this guy I see having a good ceiling, but a team is going to need to be a risk taker on this guy and need some inside linebacker help. Hard cough, Raiders. So I feel like he would fit the role of a Raider. And the thing is, I want to note, and so I don't have to talk about it later, is a guy who else is on our list, Keyshawn Brearia. Those two guys are very close. I would love them to see them go to the same team. Yeah. I know it's not going to happen, but if it could, that'd be cool because I think those guys can feed off each other and keep each other's heads in the game. But again, I think Asim Victor, if you go back and look at his film from 2015, 2016 before he got hurt, you're going to love his tape.
Yeah. For him, he's got a highlight reel full of sure tackles. He likes to power drive running backs. I watched him against Stanford, and he tackles through the whistle. He likes to wrap and spin. It's unique, but he's always spinning whenever he finishes his tackles. Later on in the game, he ends up missing a tackle. He's quick to react. flowing to the ball well, reads the screen, gets out there, forces the running back out of bounds. He ended up getting ate up by an offensive lineman, submarined the offensive lineman to keep his buddies free. You see this a lot, and that's technique football. If you've got an offensive lineman just coming out, go ahead and take his legs out if you can, which makes the running back choose a direction. If you've got guys flowing that same direction behind you, all you're doing is you're spearheading that, and you're pretty much playing chess, taking out that other pawn. Later on, he gets destroyed by an offensive lineman. So what is his height and weight again? Okay,
6'2", 232.
232. I believe this guy was pretty lean, right?
Yeah, he was leaner.
That's typically what we see from these lean guys is they don't have the leverage because obviously he's 6'2", so he's going to have a higher center of gravity, which makes it a little bit tougher whenever these guys that are a couple inches taller can come and maul them. So for me, he's a guy that I didn't really know much about, unlike Paul. And Paul's kind of a secret Washington fan. I feel like you tend to enjoy watching their players.
Well, one, I think they've had a good defense, but look at all the guys that have come out from there.
True.
Look at their secondary that came out last year.
Oh, yeah.
And Vita Vea's coming out this year. So, I mean.
Still got Sidney Jones on my roster. Even after that injury.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a quick pause. Talk about IDP Fantasy Empire. We've got our premium podcast. We do a lot of the same things that we're doing in this podcast. Obviously, we're always crafting and making it better. We've talked about defensive tackles, defensive ends, outside linebackers, safeties, corners, and now inside linebackers. At this point, we've covered every defensive prospect, and we're going to start going to offense. We're going to do the same sort of thing with quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers. Again, you pay $12 or you pay $4.99, and you get it for 12 months from the date of purchase.
And again, you're going to be getting our draft kit, which is going to be coming out. We're going to be working on. So I mean,
we'll be talking about our ranks as we, or pretty much the process of why we rank them and the spots that we rank them. We'll be talking about follow-up questions to why we're changing the ranks of these positional players as we move through and after the draft. Anything that pops up. Really, we like to look at our premium podcast as the cream of the crop. Why would you pay for something if you're getting average or subpar stats, you know? And one thing that we kind of try and do is we try and use our regular podcast to reach out to as many folks as possible, but kind of use that fish net and try and bring people into the fold and give them more heady stats and reasons why we like people that we don't really have time to do with our busy lifestyle.
And the reason that we started this is I had the idea because I could never find IDP stuff. You know, there was only a couple places, and all they did was cover the big names. And I'm like, you know, I see in our league how many gems that we are able to find and why we can't go ahead and put that out there for other people, you know, because I feel like IDP is a growing industry, and I feel like it's going to do nothing but go up. I know some of the bigger betting sites are now starting to dabble in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we
saw that in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we did. We saw that exactly in the Super Bowl. So this is kind of why I had the idea, talked it over with Buck, and we both loved the idea, and then we finally everything aligned where we could actually try and doing it.
Yeah, and you know I love football, Paul.
Yeah, we both love it. I think we talk about football every single day.
Hey, one thing, I just want to get this out there because it was on our premium podcast that wasn't free. I was talking about how I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was thinking about Seton Hall. I'm a KU grad here at the University of Kansas, and they have a tendency to lose big games in college basketball.
Just in the tournament, for the most part.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know why Seton Hall just kept sticking in the back of my head. And KU's been playing up and down on this whole season. If you're a betting man and Seton Hall does get the opportunity to play KU in the second round, I would be taking Seton Hall. And I don't know why I had a dream like that, but the day after that happens, I'm going to go pick up Ben Koyak because I woke up the other night I was saying Ben Koyak. My wife was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Ben Koyak, the tight end for the Jaguars," and she was like, "Okay." She was like, "You've been talking about football way too much lately." So whenever the buzzer beeps, I'm gonna be like, "All right, I got my waiver requested for Ben Koyak right now." So
it's weird. I don't know. I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here just enjoying the story. I still think it's just as funny as the first time he told me it.
Well, the thing is, I got to get this out there. What if this does happen? You got to go pick up Ben Koyak. I'm just saying. I'm here for you guys.
Well, I mean, Paul Plazlowski did retire, so maybe you curse the rest of his career. Thanks, Buck.
I know.
All right, getting back into our list. Let's go ahead and recap the first half.
All right.
Well, a little bit less than the first half, but we'll go. So, number 1, we had Roquan Smith. Number 2, we had Rashaan Evans. Malik Jefferson, number 3.
I could easily move Malik Jefferson up depending on the team he goes to.
Okay. Duly noted. We might have to re-rank that one. Josie Jewell.
Same with Josie Jewell. I love this kid. He could easily be my number 2 linebacker,
Yeah. I think it's funny because I was not going to actually talk about Josie Jewell at all because I liked him that much too.
Really, you do?
Yeah, I just try not to sound excited around Buck because he uses it as leverage. So
in trade talk.
He's kind of like, trying to BS, or not really trying to BS, but trying to talk to a lawyer. In the back of the lawyer's mind, they're like, how can I use this in the court of law? That's basically being around Buck all the time. So after Josie Jewell, we have Leighton Vander Esch from Boise State. We have Darius Leonard, Deshaun Dion Mustard Hamilton. We have Orrin Burks, DeGray Scales of House, Indiana. We have Dorian O'Daniel.
I could easily move this guy up to 5 or 6 depending on where he goes.
Okay. Micah Kaiser, Matthew Thomas, and Hazeem Victor round out our top 13 so far. So I'm going to let you cover the next guy first because it's about to get loud all up in here.
Oh, must be a Wisconsin guy.
Not the Wisconsin guy. Anyway, go ahead. I digress.
Your help with his last name, Jack
Sitchie
from Wisconsin, 6'2", 233, projected to run a 4.77.
That's because we don't know because of the leg issue.
You think he's going to run it?
I think he'll run faster. I think he'll run a 4.65.
Projected to go 4th to 6th round, 18 bench reps. For me, I've got that he was sent to a college prep school. He loved basketball at first, and he didn't get a lot of recruiting efforts. He had 3 straight sacks in a game, which was pretty impressive.
USC.
What was that? 21 yards, 3rd and 21, and then he got another sack.
Yep, he straight killed USC that bowl game.
He was a late bloomer in high school. He played junior season as his first season of football. I really like this guy, but I worry that he'll be just a special teams ace at the next level. Best bet is he's going to go to the Patriots. I got to see a little bit of film, and this is a guy that I talked with Paul about before the season even started, or really the draft process even started. And I told Paul that I'd been watching this guy. Can't really speak too much about it, just because I couldn't find much tape on him that wasn't a highlight package. And of course, in the highlight package, everything looked amazing. So, I don't know. Did you happen to find a game with him? I know you watched every game with him, but...
Yeah, I have some, yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I've been ready for this one, man. And I wish I could put him higher, but I'll get into the reason why. But let's go for Sitchie, baby. Jack Sitchie. He's my boy, man. I'll pound the table all day for this kid. I love Jack Sitchie. He's one of my favorite Wisconsin players in the last, 10 years.
Real quick, 1st or 2nd round, Dynasty rookie draft.
Maybe. I don't know. I may get there. But Jack was the heartbeat of Wisconsin in 2016. And when he went down this spring, it was a blow, not only to the team, but to everyone, myself included. Because I was honestly expecting a tremendous senior year from this guy, and I expected big things, especially going against most likely Ohio State, which did happen. Buck can attest to that. This kid brings a ton of heart to a team and is a born leader. And I feel like that is a very thing. And it's not just because I'm a Wisconsin fan. It goes to show you how much that guy can care about a team and how much I see it. Again, I was the one guy who talked about Blake Martinez, how about he could be a leader and a really good linebacker, and he ended up finishing pretty high. So it does happen. Now, I have to put on my non-bias hat. I'm going to put it on right now. All right, for a little while, and I got to look at the tape. All right, so the first was the highlights. Like I don't already know him. Like I don't know why I went into it thinking I didn't know the highlight packages. He blows up the running back to get a sack, destroys in the A, B, and C gaps in consecutive plays, kills with speed. He's oily through the line. If you want to see his coming out game, which Buck kind of alluded to, it was versus USC in the 2015 bowl game. Again, he had 3 straight sacks. Buck kind of talked about it. That was a monster game. I mean, he was absolutely the MVP of that bowl game. Versus Iowa in 2016, he hits the gap and gets a tackle for loss, cuts back for a tackle, hit on the stop for a first, one-on-one tackle in the middle, again and again, another wrap-up and another wrap-up. All these plays I just mentioned from the one-on-one tackle were consecutive, and I just think that's amazing. I mean, haven't seen very many of these top guys get that many consecutive tackles in a row. I'm still astounded by that, you know, especially with Roquan Smith being one of the best linebackers I've seen in a while making those plays. He is stopping any cutbacks from the Iowa running backs. He lays a hit on the quarterback, but doesn't get the sack. He's timing up on the blitzes, sheds blocks to get a tackle. He did leave this game with a torn pectoral muscle against Iowa, missed a little bit of time in 2016. It was in late November, but it cost him the rest of 2016. Now, again, I still have my unbiased hat on, so I'll leave it on for a few more minutes later. But we have to talk about his injuries, and that's been the one glaring issue in Jack Sitchy's game. And it's hard to talk about, honestly. Now, he had basically the pec and then a freak ACL tear in the spring game, and it was a lot like Jordy Nelson's ACL tear. It was really like a non-contact tear. He did attend the combine. I just want that to be noted. He was really adamant about wanting to be there. He wanted to at least participate in the measurables and the bench. He couldn't perform in the drills or run the 40 yet because that knee is still being rehabbed. He didn't do drills. I wish I could have seen him do drills because I feel like he could have competed with these guys. But he wanted to show up and talk to teams and participate as much as possible. Again, the guy's a natural leader. This guy's a diamond in the rough, and I will pound the table and I will die on the sword for Jack Sitchy's upside. I will do it all day, and I have no problem doing it, and I will continue to do it until I'm proven wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was a complete monster at the next level. I just think with that knee injury, man, he's going to have a lot to come back from, you know? And
it's a long road.
You contradicted yourself.
What?
You said you'll never go after a guy that's recovering from a knee injury.
I said multiple knee injuries.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just had to dig because he's a Wisconsin guy.
Hey, I even said I put on my unbiased hat, and I looked at it, you know, trying not to be biased about Wisconsin. But, I mean, the dude is an amazing player, and I really feel like he's going to be able to make a big contribution on the next level. And, again, I'm fine dying with this one. So,
all right.
He's just one of them guys. I've had many dreams about him. I don't talk about it. But, I mean, if I woke up saying, Sitchy, then, I guess I should draft him too.
I'll let you go ahead and take the next one, too. I have, no game film on him.
Man, wearing out my vocals. I feel like I'm running for politics. All right, man. The next guy is Christian Sam, another guy who I really liked as well. I feel like Asim Victor, Jack Sitchy, and Christian Sam are guys who I can easily put up near the top of this 4th to 6th round, in my own opinion. He's from Arizona State, 6'2", 237, ran a 4.76 at the combine. Again, a little on the higher side than we'd want to, but that's all right. Now, he is projected to go 4th to 6th round, but he had 28 reps on the bench. Putting him up, man. Racking him up. I feel like Arizona State is producing bowling ball type players. And that includes our running back that's coming out this year too, which we're probably going to cover in our offensive cast because guess what, guys? We do offense, and we do it pretty well. We use our IDP knowledge to kind of bend the market sometimes to what we need.
I'm pretty good at wide receiver, at running back. Dude, I don't know, man. I've had a terrible history with getting guys that are always hurt. I usually like the spark guys. If he runs fast, he's getting on my team.
Wow, I wonder where he got that from. Raiders fan.
Oh, yeah.
He gave me the look like, wait, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, yeah, Al Davis. Gotcha.
My buddy Al.
All right.
That dude.
Sam decided to come out this year as a junior after a 127 tackle year, 9.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble for the Sun Devils. Weighed in a bit heavier at the combine at 244 than I expected him to be. I expected him to be right around that 230 range. Ran a 4.76 like I just covered. In his highlights, he gets a sack from the backside. Comes off the edge a whole lot. I feel like that's where he feels comfortable. He may end up being an outside linebacker. He held up the running back, an instant tackler, especially waiting. He'll wait on a play and then attack. Blows up a wide receiver screen. I've harked on this through our safety podcast. Love watching guys blow up screens. Sam really seems like a bowling ball out there. Sack off the edge. Watching film, I really see him as an outside linebacker with an inside linebacker's mindset, which isn't a bad thing to have. He can go around the edge, and I see it all the time. I scout, or in my scouting reports, I will say that he needs to learn really both. He needs to learn both positions, outside and inside, to really propel his game. And I feel like he has a shot of sticking on a team. So the jury is out until I see more going forward, but I actually really like this kid. And again, as we're getting lower on these projected, some of these guys we're going to be saying, hey, they may make special teams, or hey, they may need something to get them to stick on a team, because that's kind of the level we're getting to.
Yeah. Next guy up is Nick DeLuca, inside linebacker from NDSU. 6'3", 245. Ran a 4.85 40. Ugh. I think that is the lowest.
I was surprised how low that was, or how high that was. I guess if you look at
he
that. He
is coming back from a knee injury.
Yeah.
Projected to go 4th to 6th round, 18 bench press reps. All right. In college, I really like the arts, and I like the whole culture thing. I took an Eastern culture class. I thought it was a really odd choice in music for him to use an Oriental gong as his highlight package. Did you watch that same highlight package?
Yes, I did.
Was that weird or what?
It was a little strange, I have to admit.
But whatever, man. It reminded me of Raiden from Mortal Kombat. You know? This kid was on the Butkus Award watch list before he blew out his knee. I actually watched a little day in the life of Nick DeLuca, and he likes to ride his scooter that his buddy gave him as like a loaner gift. He seems like a good kid. He's pretty focused on film. He likes hanging out with his friends, and who doesn't? I watched game film against him, against Iowa. He over pursued the run. He was getting beat by the offensive lineman, and what I worried about with him was can he compete with better competition? I noticed that he had a lack of speed and changed of direction too. He made a good tackle in the hole, and he had a nice pursuit on the power run. He almost got a sack, and it looked like he was on skates versus the offensive lineman. He kept picking the wrong hole, and he didn't disengage. He's a special teamer at the next level, and I stopped at the end of the third quarter. I kind of like this kid, his tape prior to the leg injury in his highlight package. I did notice that he was slow, and it looked like he was on skates against offensive linemen. I think he's a natural special teams player because he won't have to worry about offensive linemen at all. He'll just be running downfield trying to make a tackle.
I agree with the special teams aspect. I do really like that one. What Buck didn't mention also is Buck and I both liked him at the Senior Bowl. He was one of those guys when we were watching practice, we're like, hey, this guy can tackle. It reminded me of what I think of as a linebacker, is the way his form is.
Traditional linebacker?
Yeah, traditional old school linebacker. He's a kid with a hard head and a nose for tackling. The highlights were good and showed that he can pick the ball, crash a gap assignment. He stopped plays in the backfield. Versus San Diego this year, 2017. He comes off a block for a tackle, goes on a deep man coverage, and is sticky, basically just sticking to the backside of his guy. He got an interception, slows up a running back, stays engaged in plays, sack off the edge, pressure on the quarterback, another sack off the edge, and then he got blocked out. Now, this guy's a developmental talent, once drafted, and will need to compete in special teams to get a chance, but I really like this guy's upside. We all good on him?
Yep.
All right. I mean, you covered. I mean, you got all the good little nuggets on that one. I enjoyed that.
Did you watch Day in the Life of Nick DeLuca?
I did not. That was good. I think I saw the video and I just went on. I think I was kind of in the mood just to get through tape. All right, next guy up is Arius Moore. He's one of those tweeners. Could be an outside linebacker, could be an inside linebacker. He's from NC State, 6'0", 237.
Why are you laughing?
4.61 projected. He was not at the combine, so we have no bench, and he's a 4th to 6th round pick. I remember when I wrote all my notes about this guy, so I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go first.
No, you go first.
Okay, this is gonna be funny. If you don't laugh, I'm gonna be disappointed. All right, don't read ahead. You can't read ahead. All right, he got a sack up the middle in his highlights. Stays with the play for a tackle. Forced fumble for a touchdown. Versus Marshall, 2017. A tackle off the gap. Gets blocked by the running back. Again, I don't like seeing that. Seems to just be dancing around, just playing spy or some soft zone. Helped get a stop on the running back. I don't see a ton of instincts, and I see some hesitation. Keeps trailing plays to get assists. Gets pressure on the quarterback. He's gonna need to show me some speed before being awarded anything in the NFL, and that's even special teams. Now, watching his film is hard when your eye keeps wandering to Bradley Chubb. Mm-hmm. It kept drafting over there. And it's basically like being out on a date and you sit down with a girl, she looks good, and you come up and your waitress comes up to take your order and she's walking away and you lean slightly to the right and realize you don't want a water. You wanted to shake the whole time.
Oh, man. He is definitely not the straw that stirs the drink.
No.
For Arius Moore, I've got that he knows he lacks a lot of speed on a scoop and score, and he ends up pitching it. This guy, he's projected a 4.61. And
I don't see that, no. I see like a 4.77, if not more.
Yeah, I just thought it was hilarious whenever he got the scoop and score, and he was like, nope, I'm not going to make it. They had 3 defensive linemen that are top guys at their position. This allows him to get by and stay free to roam in his highlight package. I watched the game against Pitt. I did not find him impressive at all. I thought he was making poor decisions, taking himself out of plays religiously, and on this tape I could confirm that he was slow, and he was blocked frequently. And that's really all I got to say about Arius Moore. He could go lower, honestly. If you want to, go ahead and make a note, and we'll slide him down after.
Okay, that's quite all right with me.
You do?
Yeah, I'm feel the same way.
We got to find Dooley.
All right, yeah. The next one up is going to be Garrett Dooley. Another tweener, outside linebacker, inside linebacker. From Wisconsin, 6'3", 246. Ran a 4.81, a little slower at the combine. 21 on the bench, projected 4th to 6th round pick. And I'll let Buck hit his notes first.
I cannot find him. Oh, there he is. All right, this guy loves Call of Duty. Oddly enough. He thinks he has an addictive personality. It's something you don't like seeing typically. He got surgery in his sophomore year. He played multiple positions in college. Watched him against Purdue. He had a wrong read on the option. He was guessing gaps to beat a block. Luckily, he made the tackle. He gave up contain. Took his eyes off the 4th and 1 play. He got kicked inside. He had no contain on the outside. He lets go of the running back after making a wrapping motion. And he will be lucky to be a special teamer at the next level. I see this guy being a free agent. Really not high on him at all.
Of course, he's not an Ohio State guy. If he'd have been
But
from
we've
Ohio,
had plenty of guys that are not Ohio State guys going in the top 7 rounds.
if he'd have been Ohio State, he'd be like, well, he's actually a lot better. I'd put him up near the top. I'm just kidding. Just give him a hard time. Dooley was one player that benefited from the lots of Sitchy this year. He's tough. He's a tough run blocker. He's just a load a lot of the times. Also very functional off the edge. He had 7.5 sacks in 2017. He didn't shine like some players in the Senior Bowl, but not everyone can do that. But he was one of those guys that I was hoping for a little bit more. Dooley has the size, but does lack a ton of speed and running, which is a 4.81 at the combine. I have to see. I've seen him play, and I think he could be a stud, and then he could also be a dud. His best game was against Northwestern, where he got 3 sacks on that day by basically winning the edge. He's a tweener for a roster, and will most likely top as probably a backup.
Oh.
That's probably ceiling. Next guy is Frank Ginda, inside linebacker, San Jose State. 6'0", 245, projected 4.82. They project him as a 4.82, but they gave Arius Moore 4.61.
It's not Frank Ginda.
What?
It's Frank the Tank Ginda.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. 4th to 6th round projected, was not at the combine.
He flows well and keeps his legs moving through the tackle. 15-minute highlight reel. I would have liked to see more lowlights, but he had limited film, so I can't really speak on him.
Do you like him, though, just off the highlights?
Off the highlights, of course. I like all these guys. You know, that's the thing. I like watching these highlight packages, and the reason being is because I can see their absolute peak. If I've got a guy like Minka Fitzpatrick, it's obvious like that. I know it. And I can kind of see some tendencies if they tackle in a weird way, if it's repetitive, or if they continually make the right read, right assignment. Guys like Bradley Chubb, that one was probably a 30-second review of his highlight package, and I knew that he was going to be a stud.
Yep.
You know, guys like Frank Ginda, I'm like, yeah, he looked good, but like I noted here, I want to see more lowlights because I felt like I was being lied to. You know, I felt like I was getting the whole Brock Osweiler.
So it's like CNN or Fox News? You're just being lied to?
I guess. I felt like it was the whole Brock Osweiler. I don't bring him into the building. I just sign him off his highlight tape.
Yeah.
You know?
I understand that.
And then I waste $16 million and I try and sell him to the Browns. Like I do most of my league mates.
Pretty much. Yep, that's how that goes. All right, for Ginda, or Frank the Tank Ginda, he has stats that made me look twice. He had 173 tackles.
173?
Yes.
In 1 year?
Yes.
What?
He had 13 tackles for loss, 3 pass breakups, 2 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles.
No fucking.
I was impressed, but I wanted more sacks from him, oddly enough. Now, from film, I saw a guy who can make tackles and can be in the right spot, but his weakness is pass coverage. He will most likely be a 6th-round range pick. If he was taller and longer, he may be a 3rd with the stats that he has alone, but it'll be a journey for this guy. I just wish he was a little bit bigger. If he was a little bit bigger, he'd probably be up on there.
I'm just crunching the numbers real fast for his stats in fantasy if this is legit. So he would have had 342 points in our fantasy league if these stats are correct. Holy cow. And just for everybody listening out there, the tackles, I went ahead and went 1.75, assuming that he made 2/3 of his tackles as solos. The next guy, there's another guy that I think we missed.
Uh-oh.
I got Trey Williams from Auburn.
We covered him in actually
outside.
the outside linebacker spot. And that was one I had to double check as well. But go ahead and hit him as middle linebacker.
All right.
That's fine. Go ahead. I have his notes in another spot, so go right ahead.
He played for Auburn. Don't have his measurables up. The game that I watched was him against Texas A&M. He likes to blitz a lot. He got to the quarterback. He overran the flat route. He's got a nice tackle. Jogging backside. He was 8 up on the pass block. Missed on a tackle. He had lack of urgency. He got 8 up by the screen. Struggling to disengage. He made the wrong read. He got dragged 4 yards for a tackle. The running back runs right by him, and he couldn't get off a block. So, with those notes, I'm not really excited for him. What about you, Paul? Do you remember anything you had on him? No worries if
I can flip over real quick.
All right.
That's quite all right. For Trey Williams, I had on his notes versus Texas A&M in 2016. He's getting in on the quarterback face, causing a throwaway. Read a handoff and tackled, and honestly made a great tackle on that one. Missed a dump-off pass tackle. Nice wrap-up on the running back late in the game. Versus UCF in 2017, this is the bowl game. He had a nasty tackle on the running back. Got lost on who to cover and almost gave up a touchdown. Shredded a tackle and cleaned up the running back. Got beat on a quarterback play. Not seeing a ton of speed or burst. Kind of waits for the ball carrier too much. So, and again, we have him pretty low on our outside linebackers list as well.
15 outside linebacker.
And that's out of 19. Or 18, I'm sorry. So, down there a little bit low.
Who's our next guy?
Our next guy up is Jannard Avery.
Well, let's make sure he doesn't have a
Nickname? All right, well.
Nope, no nickname.
Inside linebacker from Memphis. He's 6'1", 255, 4.640. Did 26 reps on the bench, one of the higher guys. Going into film for me, I watched him versus UCF this year. He missed a wrap-up, keeps his head up on plays, which I do like a lot. Nice stop near the end zone, back-to-back. Doesn't shed a block. Isn't a blazer by any means. That's why I was surprised by the 4.6. He just looked a little slower. He may be quicker than fast for most part. Misses on a pass breakup, and he just missed it by fingertips. Gets to the quarterback and gets a bad throw. Rips down the quarterback on a run. Has been blocked and then getting off of those blocks. So he's been doing a very good job of that in that game.
Real quick, I have the same notes against UCF. That block where he was blocked and he read the play, it was on a draw. That's something that you like seeing from an inside linebacker because those plays are set up to pretty much shock the inside linebacker, make them think that you're passing. They go ahead and react, and then they go back into coverage, and then you got a couple of yards on them.
Mm-hmm.
So his ability to read that and not necessarily get there. Actually, he did get there. He did make the tackle, but he was picked up. So you like seeing that.
Later on in the game, he gets blocked out on a big touchdown run. Getting tackles here and there. I wish to see a spark play, something that changes the mood of the game. He's a run stuffer, which can be great, but his speed is in the middle with 4.60. He's going to be a project, but I could see the upside. Again, I feel like he's just going to probably need to go special teams and see what happens.
Yep. For him, I've got that he completely got pushed down by the right tackle. And then he gets up and he tries to sack the quarterback, and the quarterback shrugs him. He gets caught in the trash quite a bit, and he lacks second effort after engaged. Who you got next, Paul?
All right. We have Chad Whitner, inside linebacker, Oklahoma State. 6'0", 248, projected 4.65, was not invited to the combine. 4 to 6 round pick. Buck, go ahead, take it away.
I was really expecting this guy to have a unibrow.
Why?
Just by the way he played. He had a high point interception. He looks like a vicious tackler. The game where I watched was him against Baylor. He made the wrong read to start the game. The tight end roasted him for 30 yards. The next play, literally the next play, he got ate up by the offensive lineman for a touchdown. He didn't look ready for the play to start. Later on, he got crushed inside by the guard. He looks very slow. What was his projected?
His projected
4.65. Yeah, we'll have to check that on the pro day. Go ahead and put that in purple or something, man. We got to come back to that. He's always chasing, little to no effort. He is a true special teamer.
Is that all you got?
That's all I needed to see, man.
I thought you were going to call him Shrek because that dude's got some satellite dishes. Like, we're going to be mean. I might as well say that. All right. For me, in his highlights, he had a pick over the middle, wraps up near the sideline, sound tackling. He's a big body guy. He has a couple pick sixes. I watched a game versus Baylor. Is that the one you chose?
Yep.
Okay. Baylor in 2016, and wasn't really impressed overall. He did make some plays, but in coverage he was bad. Got blocked several times, got one good hit on the running back, missed a tackle but got up and made an assist, helped him stand up. The guy is a throwback to a middle linebacker like Brian Urlacher, and I mean that in the smallest sense possible. I mean as how he could play in the hole.
Okay.
But again, different scale. I just want to scale it down. I want to give not necessarily what his high is, just scale it down.
Body type, he reminds me a lot of Christian Okoye. He looks like him, dude. Or maybe like a Singletary in the shoulder pads, how he just comes downhill.
Exactly. But again, I haven't been able to find enough to really see that potential. So that's a guy that I'd like to see more from.
Yep. And I don't think we're going to see much more of him because I don't know if he'll play at all. Another guy that Paul really likes, I believe, is the Kaishak Biara.
Keshak Biera.
Yep, well, let's pound that table. 6'1", 223, ran a 4.8, 40. Projected to go 5 to 7 round, 21 bench press reps. For him, I've got the game against Washington State. He tackled a dude so hard that his lid popped off. He ends up getting a sack. He looks decent in coverage. He stepped back into a mesh route so that he could see both the guys crossing. This is a very smart trait because most guys would go ahead and get picked, or the quarterback would wait until both of them had already passed, and then they wouldn't be able to react. But he can't get off blocks. He's super lean, and that's all I've got for that guy.
All right, sorry, I was trying to look up something that I couldn't remember the guy's last name, so sorry, I was trying to find something. All right, for Biera is much slower than I thought. The combine, only a 4.80. Only 60 tackles his last year, and the weaker of the two Huskies that came out, in my opinion. I watched him versus Washington State in 2016. He attacked the sideline for a tackle, got burned on an out route, had a C-gap sack on third down. Like most Washington games in 2016, the middle of the field saw a ton of action because no one wanted to throw at those guys in the backfield or on the side of the field. He missed a one-on-one tackle. I see some roughness in his game and a lackluster senior year. He may be a late day 3 pick.
Okay. I would not be surprised. Next up, we got Joel Lanning from Iowa State. 6'2", 230. Projected to run a 4.78, 5th to 7th round. No bench press reps because he was not invited to the combine. The game where I watched was him against Memphis. He ran to the wrong hole when the quarterback rolled out. The quarterback faked the handoff and he completely whiffed, even though the quarterback still had the ball. He went to the wrong hole when pursuing the running back the next play. He's a poor tackler. He was staring at the quarterback after the quarterback handed off the ball. This triggers in my brain that he has very low awareness. Same thing later on. He got ate up by the offensive lineman, and I haven't seen him make a play in the first half, so I stopped watching.
Okay, duly noted.
Goodbye, Joel.
Now, the thing I want to express to these people who are hopefully still listening, because some guys check out after the first 3 or 4. But the reason we cover all these guys, even if we don't like them, is we want you to know that there is depth out there in some of these guys, and we're trying to find gems. So we want to give you as much background on these guys as possible.
Not only that, but I'm always indexing these players, so as they progress, I can come back to my notes and see what I didn't see or see what I did see, and I know what's going on with that player, what they need to work on. And as they progress throughout the NFL and their career, I know how big of a difference they've made and kind of the ceilings that I saw for these guys. Guys like Joel Lanning, I'm not giving him much of a rope to really excel. And if he comes out and blows up, it's one of those things you could put egg on my face and tell me, hey, you were wrong on Joel Lanning. And you know what? Most of the time, going throughout this process and spending 20 to 30 minutes on each player, it's hard to really beat this process, and I've had a lot of success doing it over the years.
Yeah, and I've told Buck for years, and I'll mention on here, is Buck is really good about finding these diamond in the rough guys because he does his homework. I may give him crap for the way he gets people to trade him first-round picks, but he does his homework on the players, so does a good job.
The biggest thing about dynasty players is you always want to sell them whenever they're at their highest, because if you assume that this is the highest they can ever be, if you ever have a number one wide receiver, sell that wide receiver. Why? Because the only place they can go is down.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a number one linebacker, sell that linebacker, because you should always be turning over your roster and staying young. You look at most of my dynasty rosters, and almost all the players are below 25. The only players I pick up that are above 25 are off the waiver wire.
Yeah. Now, I want to throw out a fantasy name this year. I already picked it up in our 50 Shades of Gray IDP that we joined as a collective, well, sort of a collective unit, but representing the IDP Fantasy Empire. I chose my name as Odell's Hotel.
I love that, Paul. Oh, man, that is awesome. And the 50 Shades of, what was it called, IDP?
I think it's 50 Shades of IDP.
It's put on by Brandon Depew. That is at BDEPOUW09.
Yep. Yeah, we joined that. I guess they're a Voxer bunch. I need to download Voxer again. I haven't had it in years.
Yeah, that guy's pretty cool. He's an Ohio State fan.
Oh, God.
But he's a Packers fan.
Okay.
He's kind of like in between for us. A moderator.
Yeah. Kind of our middleman. Exactly. All right. Now, back to the film on that one on Joel Lanning. The guy used to be a quarterback. I don't know if you mentioned that in yours, but that was one thing. He was a quarterback and he wasn't going to get playing time, so he decided to move to linebacker. Yeah, a quarterback moved to linebacker. I thought the same thing.
Hold on, real quick. Chad Whitner is projected to run a 4.65. Joel Lanning is projected to run a 4.78. That means he's running in the fives, bro.
I don't think he is.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, I know. And the one thing I like about Joel Lanning being a former quarterback is that can lead to a guy who can run the mic. Again, high side running mic. But because, again, they're the quarterbacks of the defense. Because he is patient, and I saw a lot of patience in the East-West Shrine game. He had good practices and made a lot of scouts take notice. He had 114 tackles, 11 for loss, 6 sacks, 2 pass breakups. This guy will need to build with a team so that he may have value and stock later for a deep dynasty. I like the upside he could have. In this range, in the 5 to 7 range, really we only have about 3 people that are listed 5 to 7. He's a guy who I'd take a shot on probably over Vieira, Whitner, Avery. I'd take a shot on Ginda, but about in that range. He's, a little bit higher than some that are down here.
Yeah. And that's because of his quarterback experience?
Yeah, and that's because also I thought he stepped into the role really raw and kind of developed. I saw a little bit of development. And if you can continue to work that in special teams in the NFL and maybe get some play because of packages, sub-packages, then maybe you can start putting it together. I never count anyone out. I try not to. There are some guys who I think that we've already talked about that I don't think are going to make it in the NFL, but I want to give them a shot and say, hey, this is what I see that could be their high side.
Yeah. All right, go ahead and take the next guy. I had no game film.
All right, Jewel Ebonwe. And I apologize, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close on that last name.
Iwabunewe.
It's spelled Iyegbuniwe. So just if you want to try along when you're listening, please give it a shot. He's an inside linebacker from Western Kentucky. We know someone who played at Western Kentucky. He was a kicker. Your best friend.
Really?
Yeah, Luke Prey.
Oh, yeah. That's
right. Yeah, kicker for the Wichita. What are they, Thunder?
Yep.
I think they're the Thunder. He's 6'1", 230 pounds, ran a 4.61, 19 on the bench press. I'm kind of surprised. I expected at least in the 20-23 range. Projected 5 to 7th pick, round pick. If you want to talk about a guy who's a smart football player, this guy's a great story. He came out early because he was already ready to graduate. That's literally why he came out. He said if he wouldn't have been ready to graduate, he wouldn't have come out. So I thought that was really cool. After his playing days are done, he wants to go to medical school.
Wow.
Talk about being a surgeon on defense. This guy's rich with puns for me. He had 116 tackles, 11.5 for loss, 2 sacks, and a pass breakup. In film, he's pretty quick and can get pressure. He's an arm tackler. It's something it's hard to get behind. Some guys are good at arm tackling. Some guys, you see them whiff a lot. He has a lot of big hits on his highlight packages. He could be a good special teamer and, could possibly blossom into a backup role. Again, I liked his tape more than I was expecting, for sure.
All right, I'll take the next guy if I have tape on him.
And that is Christian Covington, inside linebacker from Indiana. 6'2", 230, 4.79 at the combine, 6 to free agent. Again, we're down here in the free agent list. He did 23 reps at the combine.
Yeah, I liked him in the Senior Bowl. He was flowing to the ball. He did really well. That being said, when I watched his highlight package, I absolutely hate Indiana's graphics over the plays. I cannot see where the players are coming from, if it's a wide receiver, if it's a running back, if it's a screen play, if it's a draw, if it's a pass. I have no idea what's going on. So I'm going to put him as a special teamer at the next level,
Okay.
Sorry, Christian.
Buck and his graphic design hatred.
No, it literally
was
takes
annoying.
up half of the damn screen.
It was pretty annoying, I will admit, because I watched some of their wide receiver tape, and I was like, what the hell is this?
And there's no other tape on this dude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for me, my notes are even shorter than that. He turned out 85 tackles, 12 for loss, which I thought was a good number. 3 sacks and 5 pass breakups. Honestly, those numbers were higher than I thought for his total tackles. But his slow speed at the combine of 4.79 makes him a very long shot. Again, I think he could have an upside, but I'm putting it very low on this guy.
You know how pissed I was about the graphics?
He's still mad about it.
I almost hit them up on Twitter. I'm like, you want these guys to get drafted? You want them to make a name for your school? Give them better highlights. Do not put this little wet seal mark on it. Oh, my God.
We still got passion down here, people, and we're number 25, and we're still pretty passionate about it. All right, the next guy up on our list is Niles Morgan, inside linebacker from Notre Dame. He's 6'1", 245, or 245, 6'6", 245. Anyway, he's projected to run a 4.74, 6 to free agent. Was not at the combine. For me, he had good tackling years, but not enough to wow scouts. We'll probably have to compete for a roster spot. Again, I feel like Notre Dame is whiffed on talent this year.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone besides offensive line that's up in the top echelon?
Equanimus St. Brown, doesn't he play for Notre Dame?
I don't know.
The wide receiver?
Oh, maybe.
Equanimus.
It might be the only one. But, I mean, all the guys in every defense, we talked about safeties yesterday.
Yeah.
This being linebackers, defensive tackles.
Tackle, didn't they?
Yeah, but even he was low.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird turnaround for Notre Dame.
It happens.
All right.
Real quick, I watched the game against Texas. He drives through his tackles. He chops his feet a lot like Singletary. Again, a nod to the traditional linebacker, especially with that big frame. He struggles to fight across the face of offensive linemen. I was going to ask you how many bench press reps that he got. They haven't done their pro day, so we can't really talk about that. But that's typically a sign of lack of strength. He's almost locked up as soon as contact is made. He made a big goal line stand over the pile. The very next play, he could not make one to prevent the touchdown. What he did was he was slapping the ball of the quarterback whenever the quarterback tried to jump over the middle. He doesn't have elite speed to stop speed athletes. The next play, the running back ran to the outside edge, and no one was out there, and he was trailing. So, who we got next?
All right, next up is Taylor Young, inside linebacker for Baylor.
I got nothing on him.
Okay, good, because I have I have one big sentence. So, he is 5'10".
Grammar.
5'10". 5'10". 225. Projected 4.63. He's projected to be a free agent. The only reason I put him up a little bit higher is because I think he could have something from Baylor compared to some of these guys, but he'll probably move back down my ranks, to be completely honest.
Last great Baylor linebacker, name him. You picked him up the first year of our dynasty startup, and I I was trying to get him from you for a while, and I was trying to tuck you out of getting him.
A Baylor linebacker?
Now. Yep.
I don't even remember.
Could be a stud now for the Rams.
Alex Ogletree?
Going.
Oh, you're talking about Hager.
Hager, one of the few guys that posted 3 years of 110 plus in tackles. That's very rare, and it typically proves to be a stud linebacker.
How old is he now? Like 30?
No, he would be 3 years into his pro. He'd be about 26.
Really? I feel like he's been around a lot longer.
No.
All right, so back to Taylor Young. For me, the guy is just really small for NFL standard. Hopefully he can get on a roster and try to make a living on special teams. That's about all I got.
I don't know.
Okay, works for me.
5'10". I mean, you can't grow any taller.
Yeah. I mean, you can get surgery, but he's not going to make enough to get that kind of surgery. Andre Smith, inside linebacker, North Carolina, coming up at number 28. 6'0", 235, 4.64 at the combine, 19 on the bench, 6'2" free agent. For me, for Smith only has 2 plays, or only played 2 games in 2017 with the knee injury. Yikes. He did go to the combine, but only ran 140 and then did not participate in the rest with hamstring tightness. Doesn't have a good outlook of being healthy.
Yeah. You know, I saw 4 plays in this highlight package. It was about 2 minutes. So 4 plays takes, 40 seconds?
Yeah.
I saw the slow-mo of the same play 2 or 3 times, and I was not impressed with the play. I was like, really, buddy?
Yeah.
This is it?
Watching North Carolina football is kind of difficult sometimes. Oh, I have more on this guy. Miles Pierce, inside linebacker from the Citadel. I just love that. I wish I could have gone to that school. That'd been freaking awesome for IDP Fantasy Empire. We should take a trip and do a podcast from the Citadel. That'd be pretty awesome. Don't get me wrong on that one. All right, he's 6 foot.
I want to wear the hat.
Yeah, 6'0", 225. Well, hey, if anyone out there in Citadel, send us a hat. DM us. We'll get you. We'll get that address.
You know they aren't on computers. They're found in those books.
All right. 6'0", 225. Projected to run a 4.74. 6 to free agent. Got anything on him?
Yeah, I've got that he drives through tackles well. He's a big hitter. Got good awareness, good angles. Looks like an emotional leader of the defense. Again, the knock on him is his strength competition, his lack of tape on individual games. I would have liked to see this in action. I'm going to move him ahead of these special teamers. I did like Christian Covington, so I'd put him right below Christian Covington and right above Niles Morgan.
My turn?
Yep.
All right, for Miles Pierce. Out of these bottom guys, I think he has some upside. He had 91 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, and 4 pass breakups. He was also invited to the Senior Bowl. Interesting note, his father played in the Senior Bowl in 1990, the year I was born. Just a weird side note. He was a running back out of Tulane. You were born in 1992?
Yep. 1990 as well.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I was thinking you were a 91 baby.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Late 90s.
Late 90s. Side note on Pierce, his brother is a defensive tackle for the Ravens.
Yep, I saw that. Yeah. I saw that little interview they had. I
like his tape, and I see a guy who can impress to the next level, and obviously football's in his blood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we try not to hark on that too much, but I think this guy could easily get in, start playing special teams, and work his way up. He's one of the lower guys that maybe 2 years from now I might look up on the waiver wire.
Yep.
Honestly.
He's definitely going to be on my watch list.
Yep, for sure. All right, next up is Peter Kalambayi. I assume I'm close. I don't know. Kalambayi. Yeah. Inside linebacker from Stanford. He's 6'3", the tallest guy after Garrett Dooley in this bottom area. Just wanted to note that. 247, a little bit heavier as well. Projected to run a 4.8. He's a 6 to free round agent. Was not invited to the combine. For me, started his college years hot, but then just performed as an average guy.
For me, I've got the game against Kansas State. He's an edge rusher most of the time. If he's projected as an inside linebacker, I'd like to judge him as one. Didn't really see much. here, especially with him projected to be an inside linebacker, and most of his tape was an outside linebacker. It makes it tough to really give him a fair assessment. So I'm going to drop him.
Okay. Next up, getting near the end of the list here, we have Reggie Carter, inside linebacker from Georgia. You want to talk about going from the top and Roquan Smith going to near the bottom with Carter? This is our same teammates, very different paths to getting a career. He is 6'1", 229, 4.75, 7th free agent, was not at the combine, not invited. Carter had an injury problem most of his career and has been dwarfed by Smith and Carter, or the other Carter. He's a tweener.
I got nothing on that.
Pretty much all I got. Okay, cool. It's not much on these guys. Leon Jacobs, inside linebacker from Wisconsin. 6'2", 245, 4.4940. One of the quicker guys, surprisingly. So again, you look at all these other guys around him are all 4'6", 4'7", 4'8". So I think that's pretty good. I think he's actually the faster guy in the bottom from 9 down. He's one of the faster linebackers. That's crazy. I just now noticed that. All right, for me, he's a good person, decent player. I just don't think he has enough to be a star. Had 26 on the bench as well. But, I mean, he's got the measurables, like the 4.9 and the 26 reps. You're like, man, that's good. But he's not as good as Dooley, and Dooley's not that great.
That good person where you're just looking for a positive.
Yeah. The reason I put in a good player is he does a lot of charity work. Yeah. So that's the one thing. I didn't go into depth about all his charity work, but he does a lot. And he did a lot when he was in Wisconsin and around that area. So.
Okay.
All right. Last on our list is Kenny Young. Did we call him Mr. Irrelevant of the linebacker class?
Let's do it.
Maybe. All right. Inside linebacker from UCLA. He's 6'1", 235, 4.640, 7th free round, and 23 bench reps at the combine. I think it's awesome that we had guys at the top and finally at the very bottom that were at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. All right. For me, we'll need to be a backup and build through the special teams ranks. Again, from the little bit I saw in his highlights, which, again, it was really hard to find, but I found a couple breakdowns. He's just really bad in coverage, and he needs to improve a lot in tackling for him. But, again, he's the bottom of my list for a reason. So, again, we want to thank you guys for going through this long podcast, but we really wanted to bring as much information for these guys as we possibly could. And that's our goal. And, again, we were excited about pretty much all these guys, Yeah. A lot of these other positions we've kind of just trailed off. After a while, you just stop seeing that elite talent. I think there's some guys who can have some decent elite talent at linebacker.
Yeah.
Because there's always 2 spots open on a team. That's how I always see it.
Yeah, especially in the inside linebacking position, you see a lot of has everything, needs to work on one thing, And it's not, and then you go into needs to work on 2 things, needs to work on 3 things, those different tiers, the natural progression. Whereas some of these other positions, you've got Arden Key, who's a complete stud, needs to work on a couple things, but he's got off the field issues. You've got other guys in other positions that have injury histories, and then you're kind of ranking them, and you're like, man, what is their ceiling over the course of a dynasty? So that being said, if you like this podcast, go ahead and subscribe. You're not going to be let down because all of our other podcasts are the same quality, if not better, than this podcast. And we don't plan on stopping as soon as the draft starts with these premium podcasts. We will sprinkle in a couple free ones, but this is really where we've wanted to turn this season.
Yeah. It's a turning point. We worked on a website, got that up and going, got some writers now, so we're very, very, I would say excited about the future. I was trying to think of a more elaborate word, but excited was one that stuck with me. We're in here working just about every day on film. Yeah. So I know it's a long haul, especially guys who have full-time jobs and have lives outside of this, and it's a lot of stuff. But we love doing it. So, again, covering the top guys, you have Roquan Smith, Rashaan Evans, Malik Jefferson, Josie Jewell, Leighton Vander Esch, Darius Leonard, Deshaun Hamilton, Oren Burks, and Tegray Scales.
Sean Dion, Mustard, Hamilton.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for the correction. Appreciate that. And those are our guys in the top 10. And Dorian O'Daniel. He made the top 10 off. But with any of these guys, it's easy to start building your empire today.